Immortal Cultivation. I run an internet cafe in another world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626. Not listening to persuasion. Bai Luo was helpless in the end and could only call Mondo and the others back first. After all, it would only be a waste of time to continue searching aimlessly like this. He didn't know what to do next. If this matter was not resolved, then his subsequent plans could not be implemented. When thinking of this problem, Bai Luo felt worried, but he couldn't show it. Since there was still no gain today, Bai Luo didn't want to stay here any longer. After all, there was no point in staying here if there was no clue. It's getting late. Since we still haven't found any clues about the missing people in this area today, let's go back today. As for what to do next, I will continue to think of ways. After saying this, Bai Luo wanted to take Mondo and the others away from here. But before they had taken a few steps, there was a loud noise behind them, and Bai Luo quickly turned around. It came from the other side of the sky. Bai Luo quickly looked up at the sky over there and actually saw some blue light spots passing through the sky. That was another direction, a little distance from here. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also felt that something was wrong. He didn't hesitate for a moment, looked at Mondo beside him, and then said to Mondo and the others, "Have you seen the situation over there? I feel that something is likely to happen over there. Let's go over and take a look." Mondo and Duo nodded quickly and then followed Bai Luo to rush over there. The speed of several people was very fast. After all, they were afraid of missing important clues. Not long after, several people came to the bottom of the blue light spot just now, but it didn't seem to be unusual here now. Bai Luo looked around hesitantly. Just when Bai Luo wanted to investigate this matter, he didn't expect that it would suddenly rain in the sky. The rain fell very suddenly, and there was a trend of gradually getting heavier. But before a while, Bai Luo noticed something was wrong, because he touched the raindrops falling on him, and then found that it was actually acid rain. Bai Luo shouted in his heart that it was not good. Then he quickly looked around. After all, no one has noticed that it is acid rain, and the people nearby have not thought about it at all. When Bai Luo checked the surrounding situation, he found that some people could not hold on and fell to the ground. At this time, Bai Luo also recovered and then quickly opened the protective shield above this area, but the acid rain just now continued for a while, and the people around were inevitably affected. Why is there acid rain in this place suddenly? And it's so sudden, it looks really suspicious. Mondo on the side couldn't figure it out. After all, it was fine before they came here just now, and they didn't expect such a situation to suddenly appear. Bai Luo didn't stay in the same place and then went to check the situation of the people here. It was found that many people were indeed injured, and this place was also in a mess, but fortunately Bai Luo had already opened the protective shield. Although it was a little late, fortunately it would not be greatly affected later. But this is not a stopgap measure. The acid rain in the sky is still falling, and Bai Luo must solve this matter quickly. But just when this matter was not resolved, another unexpected situation appeared, because Bai Luo found that many rings suddenly appeared on the ground. At first, only a few rings appeared, but these rings seemed to spread like an infectious disease. Soon the ground was full of these rings. Bai Luo squatted down to check the rings on the ground, and then he felt the spiritual power fluctuations around the rings. Bai Luo frowned and then thought of all the things that happened in the past few days, and the acid rain that appeared inexplicably just now. It seemed that after all these things were connected, things became more and more confusing. But Bai Luo knew that things could never be so simple, and the rings that appeared on the ground now might be the same as the acid rain, all of which were dangerous substances. After realizing this, Bai Luo also felt very excited. He looked at the people around him and then shouted to them, "Everyone, hurry up and leave. The rings on the ground are also very wrong. Everyone, hurry away from here, otherwise you may encounter danger. Everyone, hurry up and run." The acid rain just now did come a little unexpectedly, but now it has been controlled by the protective shield set up by Bai Luo. So these people did not feel that it had a big impact. They did not know Bai Luo, so it was really difficult for them to leave their homes because of a stranger's words. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR first published this novel. Everyone looked at Bai Luo here with some doubts, although the rings on the ground did look a little suspicious. But so far, these rings did not seem to have any other problems. So everyone was still reluctant to believe it. Although some people were a little shaken in their hearts, they saw that no one was sure of Bai Luo's words. So no one left here at all. Moreover, these people not only did not evacuate here, but they continued to go out. They would not avoid seeing these rings on the ground. After all, these things now did not seem to pose any threat to them, so they could walk around on them calmly. Bai Luo also felt his scalp tingling after seeing these situations. Although nothing happened now, who knows what will happen next? After all the things now don't make sense. Bai Luo doesn't think things will be so simple. The time when these rings on the ground appeared was also very strange. Bai Luo knew that something would happen later. Everyone run. You must believe me, it is absolutely unsafe to stay here. If you want to save your life, leave here quickly. But these people just looked at Bai Luo with very suspicious eyes and didn't mean to pay attention to Bai Luo at all. Just when Bai Luo wanted to stop them, the rings on the ground suddenly changed. Those people didn't step into these rings at all, but were suddenly sucked in by the special power in the rings. Bai Luo saw the situation here very clearly. Bai Luo watched 1 or 2 villagers being sucked in by the rings, and then heard loud noises. Bai Luo wanted to go over to check the situation, but was stopped by Mondo on the side. Brother Bai, the situation over there is extremely dangerous. It is too risky to go over there like this. Let's take a look at the situation here first. Chapter 627, Disagreement. After hearing what Mondo said, Bai Luo realized that he was too impulsive. After all, he knew that the timing of the ring's appearance was indeed very confusing. You know that it would be very dangerous to get close to the ring, but if Mondo hadn't pulled him back just now, he might have gone to check the situation now. Thinking of this, Bai Luo couldn't help but feel scared. Presumably, the 2 people must have fallen in and died, because there was no movement inside, and he didn't hear the 2 people's cries for help. Although those people didn't listen to his advice and ended up like this, Bai Luo still felt sorry for them. After all, 2 lives disappeared in front of him alive. Bai Luo sighed helplessly. The movement here just now was not small, and some people around also saw the situation here. If they didn't believe what Bai Luo said before, then what happened just now confirmed Bai Luo's guess. This ring is indeed very complicated and very dangerous. After someone lost his life because of the ring, the remaining people also learned to be smart. They didn't even need Bai Luo to persuade them, and then they quickly followed Bai Luo to move. Everyone, let's leave here first. Let's move to a safe place first. The matter here was temporarily resolved, but Bai Luo still didn't know the reason. When he returned to the inn at night, Bai Luo was still thinking about the ins and outs of this matter, and always felt that what happened in these days was really strange. When it was morning, Bai Luo hurriedly called Mondo and Duo to come over. After thinking about it last night, Bai Luo also guessed whether there was a mistake in the direction he had been thinking about before. After all, he had always focused on these people and kept circling around them, but now things have not improved at all. On the contrary, more unexpected things have occurred, and it may be that his focus was wrong at the beginning. So Bai Luo thought about changing direction, and then Bai Luo looked at Mondo and Duo on the side and said what he thought in his heart. I spent the whole night thinking in the inn last night, and I always feel that what happened recently is very strange. It is possible that we were wrong at the beginning. I think we should change our focus and can't continue to drag it on like this, otherwise it will just be a waste of time. The 2 of them didn't expect Bai Luo to say this, so they looked at Bai Luo in front of them with some doubts and didn't say much. Bai Luo paused for a moment and then continued. I think we can ignore what happened to the people for now. We can focus on the nearby purple bamboo forest. There is a high possibility that there will be other discoveries. I think that place is also very suspicious. Although Mondo and Duo2 didn't know why Bai Luo suddenly mentioned the purple bamboo forest, they still trusted Bai Luo more. Then they didn't say much, but just nodded in approval. After all, they have been following Bai Luo for so long, and they still trust Bai Luo's judgment very much. Then Bai Luo took another group of people to the purple bamboo forest to check the situation and see if there were any other discoveries. In the following days, Bai Luo and Mondo always put the purple bamboo forest in advance, and Mixon would take care of what happened to the people. But the truth is not as easy as they thought, because in these days, the people have another situation. This is far more than the people disappearing one after another, and even supernatural events have occurred. This also makes these people more and more panicked. They have never encountered such a thing. Mondo felt that this matter was getting more and more difficult to control. After hesitating for a long time, he still found Bai Luo. Brother Bai, I think we should investigate the matter here first. After all, there is no other discovery in Zizulin. But now it has become a mess here. There are many things happening recently, and no one is solving them now. When he said this, Mondo couldn't help but pause for a while, and then continued. Recently, the people have been talking about some supernatural events in the town, such as the crying of children, the ghost fire incident, the red-clothed man incident, and the ghost incident. Anyway, all these things have made the people in the town panic. If they are not solved, I think it is very likely to be worse. Mondo was indignant, but he didn't expect Bai Luo to be calm after hearing Mondo's words. It seems that most of these situations have been guessed, and it seems to be calm and relaxed. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Mondo frowned. He didn't know what Bai Luo was planning. Although Mondo didn't have the same hindsight as Bai Luo in many things, he knew that, if he continued like this, something big would happen. Brother Bai, I think we can't continue like this. We must stand up for this matter, otherwise the situation will become more and more difficult to control. Seeing Mondo so worried, Bai Luo just patted Mondo on the shoulder. Don't worry about this matter for now, but let's continue to do this according to my plan. Anyway, I'm sure of it, so you don't have to worry so much. I have known the situation here for a long time, and it is actually in my plan. Although Bai Luo has said this, Mondo is still a little worried. After all, there are still people missing. In Mondo's opinion, the situation here is already very bad, so Mondo still wants to persuade Bai Luo. Don't we really need to take care of this place first? Let's not talk about those supernatural events. Now people are still missing one after another. I'm worried about their safety. Bai Luo sighed. In fact, he also had his own ideas, but the current situation did not look very good. But Bai Luo knew that he had to endure it. He looked at Mondo on the side and said to Mondo tirelessly, "Give me some more time, don't worry, I will try my best to protect the safety of those people. I have my own ideas, and these things will definitely be solved later, so don't worry." Seeing that Bai Luo had said this, Mondo didn't know what to say. In fact, he had always trusted Bai Luo very much. This matter was, because it was really difficult to control, that Mondo questioned Bai Luo's decision. Now Bai Luo has explained to him, since Bai Luo already has his own plan, it is not convenient for him to doubt anything. Mondo also believes that Bai Luo will give these people an explanation, so Mondo finally compromised with Bai Luo. Chapter 628, Unknown Vines. Half an hour later, Bai Luo and his team were still investigating what happened last time. He took Mondo and his team to investigate clues here, but there was still no other discovery. Mondo seemed to be a little anxious, but Bai Luo was not anxious at all. After all, when he made this decision at the beginning, he thought of today's situation. But now everything is within his expectations and has not escaped his control at all, so Bai Luo still feels at ease. He looked at Mondo, who was a little anxious on the side, and then said to Mondo, "Mondo, you don't have to be too anxious. Although we haven't found any useful clues now, we can ask him to solve this matter soon." Recently, Mondo has been troubled by some evil spirit incidents in the town. Although Bai Luo told him that nothing would happen later, he also has a way to solve it, but Mondo is still a little worried. since he has chosen to believe Bai Luo before. Mondo didn't say anything more. Brother Bai, I know you are sure of it, and I believe you, but I'm afraid that something unexpected will happen later. After all, too many people have disappeared now. Bai Luo nodded, indicating that he could understand Mondo's idea. Just when Bai Luo wanted to say something to Mondo, he suddenly found that the ground where he came to was very wet. In fact, it was not very strange that the ground was wet, mainly because it had not rained here in the past few days. And now the area where he was located was very lacking in moisture. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned. Then he continued to walk forward, but before he took a few steps, he smelled a very strange smell. Bai Luo frowned. He had never smelled such a strange smell in this place before, and now this pungent smell hit him in the face. After realizing that something was wrong, Bai Luo quickly stretched out his hand to block Mondo, who was following behind him. He told him not to continue walking forward. After that, Bai Luo himself stopped and looked around cautiously. But after stopping for a long time, Bai Luo couldn't tell where the strange smell came from. Why did this situation suddenly appear? Bai Luo also thought that this matter was indeed very strange. Bai Luo hesitated for a while and finally saw another hill. It might be possible to go to a higher place to check the situation, see where the problem is, and then find a way to solve it. After confirming this idea, Bai Luo pointed to the hill over there and then said to Mondo and the others behind him, "Let's go over there to check the situation, see what happened here, and see if there is anything unusual." Although Bai Luo had stopped Mondo and the others just now, they also saw the strange situation here. So they thought Bai Luo's idea was quite good. After all, there must be something wrong when things are abnormal. This situation should be another situation. So they followed Bai Luo to the hill with higher terrain. After all, they were all people who practiced martial arts, so they were very fast when they hurried. Not long after, they came to the top of this hill. Sure enough, the view above was much wider, and the basic situation below could be clearly seen. Bai Luo carefully observed every move below, but he didn't expect that Mondo on the side would speak in surprise at this time. Mondo seemed to have seen a very clear scene, and then he pointed in the direction of the inn. "Brother Bai, look, there seem to be other vines appearing over there, and those vines are very large, and many of them have grown taller than the inn." After saying this, Mondo seemed to have another discovery. It seems that it's not just vines. There seem to be many colorful plants growing around there. After hearing what Mondo said, Bai Luo quickly turned his attention to the inn. As expected, just as Mondo said, Bai Luo also saw that the scene over there was indeed strange. Before he left, there was no such situation over there, but now looking at the inn, he found that there were indeed a lot of vines growing. There were also some colorful plants around, which looked very abrupt. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also knew that they could not go back to the inn first. After all, he didn't know if there would be other dangers over there. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR published this novel for the first time. In that case, let's find a safe place to rest first. After all, we don't know what's going on at the inn now. Everyone nodded in support, and then found a place to rest at the foot of the mountain. After seeing that everyone had rested for a while, Bai Luo turned his attention to the weeds near where they were resting. When he came here just now, he found that there were a lot of weeds here, so this approach was also decided just now. "Come here. Do you see the weeds here?" The weeds were so obvious, and everyone's eyesight was not bad, so they nodded. But they didn't know what Bai Luo wanted to do, so they looked at Bai Luo in front of them with some doubts. Bai Luo naturally wouldn't keep them in suspense, and then continued, "Everyone, help me collect these weeds." After hearing Bai Luo's request, everyone felt even more confused, because these weeds were just ordinary weeds. Why did they have to collect them specially? Thinking of this, Mondo walked to the side of the weeds and took a look, but didn't find anything special. He looked at Bai Luo on the other side in confusion, and then said, "Brother Bai, are these weeds so special? Why do we need to collect them?" Bai Luo hesitated for a moment, but in the end he did not explain his reasons to them. Don't worry, I have my own considerations for this matter, and I have already planned all the plans. You just need to help me collect these weeds." Seeing that Bai Luo was unwilling to explain the reasons, everyone did not ask any more questions because they believed that Bai Luo would not do anything that would harm the world. "Everyone, don't just stand there, hurry up." Okay. Then everyone started to work. When everyone worked together, the speed was still very fast. It didn't take long for them to collect a lot of weeds here. Looking at the collected weeds, Bai Luo fell into deep thought. He was thinking about what he should do next. After all, many things were ready now. Chapter 629, The Injured Evil Spirit. After collecting these weeds, Bai Luo and his group continued to move forward. But soon Bai Luo found something wrong, because when he was on the road, he found that there were some evil spirits left on the roadside. He quickly squatted down to check the situation, and found that it was just as he guessed. Those evil spirits might have passed by here not long ago. But why would their evil spirits be scattered everywhere? Bai Luo grasped the key point of the matter. He knew that there might be another situation on the side of the evil spirits. Thinking of this, Bai Luo also knew that this was definitely a good opportunity. He quickly stopped his steps and then reacted. Let's change direction. Let's go back the same way now. I want to see how those people can run now. Everyone felt confused after hearing Bai Luo's words, but no one said much. After all, Bai Luo was leading them to act together. I guess Bai Luo also had his own ideas and didn't need them to worry about anything. So they returned the same way. Not long after walking, Bai Luo felt that the evil spirits here were getting heavier. Sure enough, they soon found a large number of injured evil spirits. These evil spirits had many wounds on their bodies, and black hair was constantly coming out of those wounds. I guess what Bai Luo noticed just now was the evil spirit's hair coming out of those wounds. Bai Luo had expected the situation here a long time ago, but Mondo and the others were very surprised when they saw the situation here. They finally understood Bai Luo's intention. It turned out that Bai Luo had already discovered that something was wrong and wanted to bring them back to catch these evil spirits together. Now it has succeeded. Mondo and the others feel very happy. After all, many things that have happened recently are caused by these evil spirits behind the scenes. This is great. After all, these people haven't been playing tricks on our territory recently. I didn't expect that they would fall into our hands now. Let's see how we deal with them. After saying these words, Mondo directly used his spiritual power to gather in his chest. Bai Luo on the side also drew his weapon. They stared at the injured evil spirits in front of them with a covetous look. The war was about to break out, and soon Bai Luo and his group of people fought with these evil spirits. Although these evil spirits are difficult to be discovered in many cases, after all, their movements are very strange. But now these people are already injured, and the strength of this side is not very good, so they are not the opponents of Bai Luo and his group at all. Soon these evil spirits were directly knocked down by Bai Luo and his group. They fled everywhere, and they looked really embarrassed. Mondo and his group were also merciless. After all, so many things that happened in the town recently may be related to them. This time they took advantage, so Mondo was still very happy. Presumably, these evil spirits should not dare to do anything behind their backs recently. Seeing that the things here have been dealt with, Bai Luo also raised the dust in his hand. Looking at the mess on the ground, Bai Luo brought everyone to deal with this battlefield together. Although those evil spirits were already injured just now, they still have some strength, so the damage here is also very serious. But while Bai Luo was still cleaning this place, several voices rang in his mind again. Although he couldn't hear what the man was saying, Bai Luo could clearly feel that a voice suddenly rang. But this time the voice was intermittent, which made Bai Luo feel very annoyed. He knew that only he could hear the voice, and the people around him didn't react. Bai Luo felt very confused. After all, it was not a good thing for him. Could it be that there was something hidden? But now he had no idea where to start. He hesitated for a while, and finally tried to ask the system. System, I think you should have heard the voice echoing in my mind just now. You are knowledgeable, and should know where this voice comes from. Otherwise, tell me. Bai Luo's tone was very polite because he knew that the system had no obligation to answer his questions and often turned a blind eye to his questions. But now he really wanted to know where this voice came from, so he also needed to rely on the system. But this system didn't give him face at all. Bai Luo tried to ask several times, but got no response. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but roll his eyes. Sure enough, this system was really unreliable. Later, Bai Luo didn't care about this matter anymore. After all, there was no such voice in his mind now. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. But after a while, this voice sounded in Bai Luo's mind again as promised. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo didn't know what was going on. He suddenly remembered the old man who had talked to him in his mind a few days ago. Could it be that this matter was also the work of the old man behind the scenes? After all, the methods were exactly the same. Thinking of this, Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned. After all, he had rejected the old man last time. There was no other situation in the next few days. I didn't expect such a thing to happen again these days. Bai Luo's face was not good, but he couldn't get angry now. After all, there were so many people around. In order not to worry everyone, Bai Luo looked around and found that everyone was dealing with their own affairs. He walked in another direction like a stroll. After making sure that there was no one around, Bai Luo directly questioned. "That old man, I know you are around. If you have the guts, come out and see me. Don't keep hiding in the dark and torturing me. Didn't you tell me before that you wanted to discuss some cooperation? You are too insincere. How can I trust you?" But no matter what Bai Luo said, no one responded to him. After trying several times, Bai Luo could only give up helplessly in the end. After all, he didn't have any clues to investigate this matter now. There was no one to answer his questions, so Bai Luo really had no way out. Bai Luo waved his hand helplessly and then returned the same way. He looked at the big guys who were still staying in the same place and found that there was nothing wrong here. After all, everything was almost handled, and then he said to them, "Everyone, leave here quickly after you have dealt with the things here. Be careful on the road." "Okay, I understand. Yes. Remember." Chapter 630, Disparity in Strength. The next morning, when Bai Luo woke up, he found that Mondo and Duo 2 had already woken up. Then Bai Luo quickly packed himself up. After all, things here were almost done, and there was no point in staying here. Then Bai Luo said to Mondo and the others, "Everyone, pack up your things quickly. Since things here have been dealt with, let's rush back to the town." Everyone naturally had no objection and nodded. They were very fast. After a simple packing, they followed Bai Luo and the others and set off. Nothing happened in front of them, but after they walked for a while, suddenly a group of people stopped them. At first, Bai Luo didn't pay any attention to these people, but when these people saw Bai Luo and the others, they directly blocked Bai Luo and the others' way. These people looked like they were not easy to mess with, and they looked very arrogant. The leader looked at Bai Luo in the front with contempt, and then said, "What are the origins of you people? Why don't you say hello when you come to our territory?" After listening to this person's words, Bai Luo also looked at the people in front of him. He found that these people were wearing the same uniform, and they should be from a certain sect. Seeing that these people were not kind, but Bai Luo was not the kind of person who would swallow his anger, so Bai Luo spoke without any fear. "Shouldn't people like you introduce your origins at the beginning? And we are just ordinary passers-by, so we shouldn't be a nuisance to you." The man crossed his arms in front of his chest, lowered his eyebrows, and looked at Bai Luo in front of him, and revealed his origin as Bai Luo wished. "We are from the Fiery Flame sect, so you'd better be careful and avoid us when you see us." Mondo, who was standing aside, was very honest. When he heard what this person said, he couldn't help but say to Bai Luo beside him, "What is the Fiery Flame sect? Why have I never heard of it? Is this sect very powerful?" Then there were a few low laughs from the crowd. Logically speaking, few of them had heard of the reputation of the Fiery Flame sect. Even Bai Luo said he didn't know, but those people couldn't stand hearing these words. After hearing what Mondo said, their faces turned green, and the leader was so angry that he couldn't say a word for a long time. Bai Luo saw that he was so anxious, and then he knew that he must have hit their soft spot, and then he said calmly, "I'm really sorry, big brother. We are really just a group of country folk, and we have never heard of the fiery sect." But Bai Luo didn't plan to continue dealing with them. After all, he didn't have so much free time, and they had to hurry back to the town. There were still many things he needed to do later, so Bai Luo wanted to take everyone away together. He looked at the people in front of him, and seeing that they didn't take the next step, Bai Luo spoke. "If you don't have anything else to do, then we will take our own people and leave first." After saying this, Bai Luo took Mondo and wanted to bypass these people and continue on their way. But the people of the fiery sect didn't seem to intend to stop them from leaving. The leader just now looked at the brothers around him. Then the people below understood what he meant, and they formed a barrier with human figures to block Bai Luo and his way. Bai Luo raised his eyebrows and said, "What do you mean?" The leading young man walked slowly in front of Bai Luo and then made his meaning clear. "You said you don't know the reputation of our Lian sect, but this is our territory. If you don't pay some tolls, you can't leave here." Bai Luo had seen this map clearly before. This is nothing more than a small hill without a name. Now this person's words are so high sounding, but in the end, it's nothing more than those mountain bandits who specifically look for passers-by to collect tolls. Although Bai Luo wanted to leave here quickly, since these people have come to his door, he would just reluctantly get rid of the harm for the people. Bai Luo drew his weapon and then raised his head. "Then I want to see how to leave here today without paying the protection fee. We do have a lot of silver, but if you want to get it, it depends on your own ability." Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus BOOK_BAR is the first to publish this novel. When the people from the Lian sect saw that Bai Luo and his men seemed to be going to use force, they looked at each other in bewilderment. However, it was obvious that these people from the Lian sect were used to being bandit leaders. When they saw that Bai Luo and his men were unwilling to pay protection fees, they showed their fangs. Just when they were about to fight, a man from the Lian sect suddenly stood up. This man did not look as arrogant as the previous man, but he was obviously not a good guy either. This man just smiled and said, "I'm Li Gang, the third in command of the Lian sect. I have a suggestion. Anyway, now it is nothing more than a fight. Otherwise, let's have a duel. If you win, we can let you go directly. But if you lose, please pay the protection fee." When he said this, Li Gang paused for a moment and then continued. "Anyway, I'm only doing this to reduce casualties. After all, if we really fight, our brothers will be hurt, and we don't want to really hurt you." Hearing this man's words, Bai Luo couldn't help but sneer in his heart. This man did say it more nicely, but the dirty look couldn't be hidden. However, this proposal is quite good. Bai Luo didn't want to spend any more effort to deal with these people. He didn't think they could beat him. Thinking of this, Bai Luo agreed very readily. "Okay, then this matter is settled. Let's have a one-on-one duel. Don't regret it when the time comes." Li Gang nodded and then directly selected a very strong man from their side and stood up. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment and then turned his attention to Mondo on the side. After all, Mondo has been gaining more and more insights into the skills recently, and his strength has also been greatly improved. It just so happens that this time he can test Mondo, so Bai Luo asked Mondo's opinion. "Why don't you go this time? You can also test your recent learning results. But don't be too brave. If you encounter any danger, retreat immediately. You can leave the rest to us. Your own safety is the most important." Chapter 631, Gaining Favor. After hearing Bai Luo's words, Mondo agreed very easily, because Mondo is now very confident to deal with the people in front of him, and this is a task assigned to him by Bai Luo, so Mondo is still willing to meet those people. Mondo nodded, and then walked out of the crowd. Looking at the burly man in front of him, Mondo was not afraid at all. He slowly released the power of thunder from his body. When the burly man rushed towards Mondo, Mondo directly used the power of thunder in his body to knock the man away. Mondo knocked the man down before he took action. Li Gang, who was standing in the crowd, looked very unhappy after seeing this scene. Finally, he sent another person from the crowd, but this person still adhered to the usual style of the previous person, and was also a very strong person. But these people only use their brute force, and are not Mondo's opponents at all. Mondo waved his hand gently, and then beat the man back again. Then several waves of people came up one after another, but none of them were Mondo's opponents. Bai Luo, who was standing by, was naturally very satisfied after seeing this scene. After all, Mondo had passed the test and taught all the people in front of him a lesson. The man in the flames did not send another person up, so Mondo slowly retreated behind Bai Luo. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo walked forward directly. Li Gong, didn't you just say that you would let us go as long as we win the duel? I wonder if what you said just now still counts. Li Gong did not answer Bai Luo's words immediately because he did not expect that this man actually had such strength. However, he really remembered Mondo. If he could recruit someone with such strength under his command, it would definitely greatly enhance the strength of their sect. Li Gong smiled and then spoke directly to Bai Luo. Let's talk about this later. It's fate that we meet here today. The little brother just now is indeed very agile and his strength is admirable. I wonder if I can talk to him in private. If our talk goes well, we can naturally let you go. After hearing what this man said, Bai Luo couldn't help but feel a throbbing pain in his temple. He heard what this man was thinking. He said so much just to trick Mondo into joining their camp. And if this man's goal is not achieved, these people will definitely not let them leave. So Bai Luo looked at them coldly and then said directly, "Don't think about this matter. We will never let Mondo go, and Mondo himself will not be willing to follow you guys." When he said this, Bai Luo paused for a moment and then continued, "Looking at your attitude, I'm sure you won't let us go easily. If that's the case, just do it if you want. We are not afraid of you." After that, Bai Luo took a few steps back and waved his hand. Then his men lined up in battle formation, ready to deal with the attacks of the Lian sect at any time. As expected by Bai Luo, those people saw that their goal could not be achieved at all, and then they tore their faces apart. Li Gong and his men attacked Bai Luo and his men directly, but Bai Luo and his men were not defeated so easily. This was nothing to Bai Luo and his men, but it would only waste their time. But during the fight, Bai Luo found something wrong. He actually found the residual breath of the ancient artifact on Li Gong, which was also discovered by Bai Luo accidentally on Li Gong's body. When he noticed this breath, he looked at Li Gong on the other side in disbelief. He thought Li Gong was just a mob or a bandit leader. But he didn't expect that this person actually revealed the residual breath of the ancient artifact, which proved that the person in front of him might not be as simple as he imagined. Thinking of this, Bai Luo drew his weapon and fought with Li Gong again. But Li Gong was not so easy to deal with. Although the quality of their men was mixed, Li Gong was still quite capable. Bai Luo couldn't easily subdue him. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo knew that he had to think of another way. If he wanted to continue investigating along the line of Li Gong, he had to control Li Gong first. The error-free version is available at 69 book bar. 6 = 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. But Li Gong on the opposite side seemed to have noticed his intentions and was guarding against him intentionally or unintentionally. After considering this, Bai Luo turned his attention to Duo 2 on the side. Mondo's strength had been revealed in front of this person just now, and he had been guarded by Li Gong. Now he should only send Duo 2 to do this. Then Bai Luo walked to Duo 2's side, turned sideways and said to Duo 2, "Duo 2, when I fight with Li Gong, you secretly watch Li Gong's movements from the side, and if you have a chance, attack Li Gong directly. It would be great if you can kill him alive, but you still have to be careful." Although he didn't know why Bai Luo wanted to focus on Li Gong, since Bai Luo had said so, Duo 2 nodded. "Don't worry, brother Bai, leave this matter to me." After explaining this matter, Bai Luo took his weapon and shot at Li Gong again. However, Li Gong was indeed prepared. When he saw Bai Luo attacking him, Li Gong quickly reacted. Bai Luo didn't take any advantage, but Duo 2 on the other side was ready. Duo 2 rushed over with his weapon at this time, catching him off guard. Li Gong obviously didn't expect that someone would attack him from behind, so he couldn't react at all and was beaten back several steps by Duo 2. However, it was still difficult to capture Li Gong alive. After all, Li Gong was indeed quite powerful. But now the situation had completely changed. Bai Luo and his team were clearly in the upper hand, and the people from the Lian sect could not defeat them at all. They were naturally aware of their situation, and seeing that the situation was not good, they quickly made a decision, and did not need to collect any protection fees. These people looked at each other, and then ran in another direction. The speed of their escape was very fast. Chapter 632, Gaining Praise. However, Bai Luo did not want to let them go so easily. After all, these people were not good people. They must have bullied the people here recently. If it were not for his strong strength, he might really be bullied by them. So Bai Luo led his men to continue chasing. However, the speed of the group of people was not very fast, and Bai Luo soon caught up with them. There was a group of villagers here. After all, they were very familiar with the people of the Flame Sect. These people did a lot of bad things, and the villagers also abandoned them, wishing to drown them with a mouthful of spit. Although everyone was still a little afraid, seeing Bai Luo and his group of people surrounded the people of the Flame Sect, some bold villagers were also watching the situation here. They could naturally tell who was strong and who was weak now. After all, they had been bullied by these people recently. After seeing that Bai Luo could subdue them, many villagers directly praised Bai Luo as a god. Bai Luo felt a little embarrassed to have so many people watching. After all, he did not do anything very important this time. After seeing this situation, Li Gong quickly gave in. He saw Bai Luo in front of him and then said flatteringly, "Brother, let's talk it out. Anyway, we won't collect the protection fee. Let's just forget about this." After hearing what this man said, Bai Luo was silent for a while. After a while, Bai Luo nodded and agreed easily, but Mondo on the side was very excited after seeing this situation. After all, after so many things, Mondo also knew that this man was not a good person at all. How could he let them go so easily? Mondo simply couldn't understand it. Now he was obviously in the upper hand. How could he let them go just like that? Thinking of this, Mondo quickly grabbed Bai Luo on the side and then said to Bai Luo, "Brother Bai, what are you doing? These people have done a lot of things. Why let them go so easily? Isn't this too easy for them?" Everyone also agreed with what Mondo said. If these people were let go now, they might continue to bully the people here. Everyone disagreed with Bai Luo's approach, and they couldn't even understand why Bai Luo did this. After seeing the situation here, Bai Luo just frowned, but didn't want to explain anything more. However, in order to reassure everyone, Bai Luo still said a few words. "Don't worry, I have considered this matter. I have a bottom line in every decision I make, so don't worry too much about this matter. I have already planned it." After what happened in these days, although they often didn't understand Bai Luo's approach, in fact, it seemed that Bai Luo always did what he said. There were no accidents in all things, and everything was in Bai Luo's plan. When Bai Luo said this, although everyone was a little confused, they finally nodded and agreed. Li Gong on the other side was naturally very happy after seeing this situation. After all, Bai Luo was willing to let them leave now, which was very good news. Seeing the situation here, Li Gong directly took their people from the Lian sect away from here. Seeing these people leave, Bai Luo didn't want to stay here any longer. After all, this matter was resolved in this way, and then he wanted to take everyone away together. Then let's leave it at that. Since this matter has been resolved, let's quickly return to the original route and return to the town. After saying this, Bai Luo led them to another direction. Everyone didn't think much about it, but as they walked, Bai Luo found something wrong. Because someone was following them from behind. Although Bai Luo didn't know who was following them now, he was sure that there must be someone behind them. Could it be that Li Gong and the others were doing something weird again? Thinking of this, Bai Luo's expression was not good. He thought that this matter had been resolved, but he didn't expect these people to be so forgetful. He hesitated for a while, and finally called Mondo behind him. "Mondo, take some people to the front. to set some traps now, but be careful not to be discovered by others. Although Mondo was very confused now, since Bai Luo had given him a task, Mondo just had to do it. Then Mondo nodded, and then secretly left here with a group of people. Read the error-free version at 69 bookbar. 6 equals 9 plus underscore. Because they also have a set route, they can go to the front to prepare in advance. As long as the person behind them follows them, they will definitely fall into the trap. Soon Bai Luo came to the place they agreed on. Bai Luo cleverly crossed the traps that had been prepared in advance. Just when Bai Luo thought that the person following him would fall into it, he didn't expect that there was no movement from behind for a long time. It shouldn't be like this. What's going on? Could it be that he was discovered? After seeing this situation, Bai Luo knew that he didn't need to hide it anymore. He raised his hand and then asked everyone to stop. Then Bai Luo looked around very vigilantly. He wanted to see who was behind the scenes. But after looking around for a while, he found that there was no movement around. But Bai Luo really didn't want to deal with these people anymore. Then Bai Luo shouted to the people around him, "Come out if you are hiding in the back. It will be boring if we continue to play this way. If you have anything to say, just come out and say it." After saying this, Bai Luo kept observing the surrounding environment. He was not sure whether the person behind him would show up directly. After all, he had tried many times, but failed to find the person behind him, so Bai Luo did not hold much hope. But this time the man was quite generous. Not long after Bai Luo finished speaking, a man appeared in front of them. It turned out to be the old man from last time. After seeing the man's face, Bai Luo was also a little shocked. He did not expect that it was this person who was following him, but didn't he reject this person very clearly last time? Why did this person still follow him? Bai Luo's face was not good, and he frowned at the man in front of him. It turns out to be an old friend. I wonder why this old man has been following me. I guess I have made it very clear last time. So why are you doing this? Chapter 633, Direct Rejection. Bai Luo's tone was not good, but the old man was not angry. He just looked at Bai Luo with a smile. Finally, he said to Bai Luo, "I didn't make it clear last time. I want to discuss it with you again this time. You can also think about it more carefully. After all, the matter I discuss with you is beneficial to you, and you can really think about it carefully." After hearing this, Bai Luo also became interested. After all, this person seemed to want to discuss some cooperation with him last time. But Bai Luo refused at the time. He didn't know what it was. "Then tell me what the good news is. Only if you tell me, I can think about it carefully." The old man saw Bai Luo asking this, and continued with a smile. "You don't know this. I plan to set up a large sect recently. You can also cooperate with me directly. When the time comes, this sect will be ours. As long as you are willing to join me, I can help you capture high-level magic beasts to obtain magic cores." After the old man finished this sentence, he looked at Bai Luo in front of him very proudly. He seemed to think that the conditions he mentioned were very tempting, and thought that Bai Luo would definitely consider it carefully. But Bai Luo had no interest in what he said, and he didn't want to get involved in such things. Now it's quite chaotic here, with many sects and constant conflicts. Bai Luo didn't want to get involved in this muddy water. So Bai Luo didn't hesitate at all, and then directly expressed his attitude. "Anyway, my meaning is the same as last time. I have no interest in these things at all, so don't try to convince me. And don't follow us all the time. This thing won't work with me at all, so you'd better take care of yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude later." The expression on the face of the old man who was smiling just now disappeared, and he just stared at Bai Luo in front of him. But Bai Luo was not afraid. After all, he had already thought about this matter. He was frank, and the old man didn't say anything more, and then disappeared directly in front of them. Mondo, who was standing by, walked over to Bai Luo after seeing that the matter had been resolved. After all, Mondo had heard their conversation clearly, and he had also felt the aura of a strong man emanating from the old man. He had not expected that Bai Luo would so easily refuse to cooperate with such a strong man, and Mondo did not quite understand. He walked over to Bai Luo and expressed his doubts. That old man seems to be quite powerful. If we cooperate with him, it is possible that we can easily obtain the magic core of a high level monster. Why don't we consider doing this with him? Bai Luo frowned. In fact, this matter was not within his imagination, and secondly, he did not trust the old man at all. After all, when he looked at the old man, he felt that there was an evil spirit in him, which Bai Luo could easily feel. Now he was not very clear about many things. If he easily agreed to cooperate with this person, he might be stabbed in the back by this person later. So Bai Luo knew that he had to be extremely careful in every step he took, and he must not be calculated by others. After all, he was now leading so many people to act with him, and he couldn't joke with other people's lives. In fact, I have never considered building a sect, and although that person said he wanted to cooperate with us, I don't trust him at all. You see, although that person is very strong, I can clearly feel the evil spirit of that old man. Bai Luo has been frowning. When he said this, he paused for a moment, and then thought of something. I don't think he is a righteous person at all, and there is no free lunch in this world. I don't think he will help us so easily. I'm afraid there will be another trap later, so we'd better be careful, and we won't suffer any loss. After hearing Bai Luo's explanation, Mondo said that he could understand it. Although the man's strength is indeed very strong, if they rashly agree to cooperate with him, before knowing the origin of the old man, it is possible that they will really be blamed by others later, and then Mondo nodded. So that's how it is. Actually, it's okay. Anyway, we will definitely get the magic core of the high level monster later. It's just a matter of time. Bai Luo smiled and nodded, then turned his head to Mondo. After all, he had given Mondo another task before. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. By the way, has Li Gang been caught? In fact, Bai Luo had no intention of letting Li Gang go before. He was willing to let them go just now, just to let them relax their vigilance. Later, Bai Luo sent Mondo to secretly catch Li Gang. After all, Bai Luo knew that Li Gang had the residual breath of the ancient artifact. Mondo nodded, then said to Bai Luo, Li Gang has been caught, and there is no need to think about it. They were not vigilant at all at the time. I didn't expect that we would attack them again later. After hearing Mondo's words, Bai Luo couldn't help but smile. Now that everything has been solved, Bai Luo immediately led everyone to continue to rush to the town. Nothing else happened afterwards, and they returned to the town not long after. However, Bai Luo did not have time to rest. After all, there were still some things he needed to deal with. Because he finally brought Li Gang and the others back, he wanted to meet him properly. Although they had some contact before, they were fighting with swords after all, and some things were not made clear. Moreover, Bai Luo also wanted to know where the aura of the ancient artifact left on Li Gang came from. What was the true identity of Li Gang? After returning to the town, Bai Luo directly asked Mondo to bring the captured Li Gang over. Li Gang did not expect to find Bai Luo's way. He originally thought that Bai Luo was really willing to let them go, and they did not take this matter to heart. But they did not expect that they would fall into their tricks again. Not long after they left, they were ambushed by Mondo and the others again. Only at that moment did they realize that all this was Bai Luo's conspiracy, and Li Gang felt that he was being calculated. When he saw Bai Luo, the expression on his face was naturally mixed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 634, Mobilizing the People. Bai Luo didn't feel any psychological pressure. He looked at Li Gang, who was full of dissatisfaction, and then walked in front of Li Gang. Then he squatted down and just looked at Li Gang in front of him. What's that expression on your face? Didn't I say I agreed to let you go? Since you were caught again later, you can't blame us. Li Gang was furious after hearing this. He had never suffered such humiliation before, and he was played by Bai Luo like this. He felt that he had lost all his face. You little man, you have a plan, but you still have to play a good guy in front of everyone. I really look down on you, and what right do you have to arrest me? I advise you to let me go quickly, otherwise the people of Lianzan will definitely make trouble for you. Bai Luo chuckled. After all, he had fought with the people of Lianzan before, and he didn't find anything special about the strength of Lianzan. So Bai Luo didn't take Li Gong's threat to heart at all. Don't threaten me for now. What you should worry about most now is your own situation. If you really annoy me now, your life will be in danger. So I advise you to think carefully before you say anything. Don't lose your life for the sake of momentary pleasure. Besides, you said that I'm not a good person, so I will take your life directly at that time. These words frightened Li Gong. Although the expression on his face was still very unconvinced, he did not dare to say anything more. Bai Luo smiled and then stood up again. After all, how could he let these people go so easily? These people had done a lot of bad things. If he let them go so easily, only the ordinary people would be hurt. These people dared to make trouble here so unscrupulously, so they must have never failed before. Bai Luo glanced at Li Gong and then said, "Tell me what good things you have done there recently. Have you been robbing people along the way? But do you think that I'm getting rid of harm for the people by taking you away like this?" After hearing what Bai Luo said, Li Gong rolled his eyes. Li Gong sneered and then said unscrupulously, "What's the point of you taking me away alone? Besides, there are many forces and sects in the local area now, and we are just a small part of them. And most of them are very powerful. You can only bully me, so you are not a hero. If you have the ability, go and cause trouble for them." After hearing what Li Gong said, Bai Luo couldn't help but frown. It turns out that these people dare to be so unscrupulous. There is really a reason why the evil awakens. He didn't expect that such a situation would happen here. If these people are really allowed to continue like this, it may only make the lives of the people more and more uncomfortable. The expression on Bai Luo's face has always been not very good, and he didn't say much, as if he was thinking about something. He looked at Li Gong in front of him, and then asked, "Then tell me what is the biggest force on your side? If you answer well, I can really consider letting you go." Bai Luo still wanted to find the most serious problem first, but he didn't know the situation here at all, so he wanted to ask Li Gong about the situation. But after hearing Bai Luo's words, Li Gong didn't hesitate at all. He shouted at Bai Luo, "The most powerful one is of course our Lian sect. I believe you have seen our strength today. I tell you that the people of our Lian sect are not easy to mess with. You are lucky today that you can take advantage of it." After hearing Li Gong's words, Bai Luo looked at the man in front of him with contempt. He thought that Li Gong had some outstanding qualities before, but he didn't expect that this man was really arrogant. It is obvious that he is in such a situation now, but he still has to boast about how powerful he is. He really can't recognize his current situation. Bai Luo sneered and then looked at Mondo beside him. Anyway, now that he had asked all the questions he should have, Bai Luo waved his hand. "Take him away first. Remember to keep a close eye on this man. I'll need him later." Then Li Gong was taken away, and Bai Luo, who stayed in the hall, had been thinking about one thing. After all, from Li Gong's words just now, Bai Luo knew that this matter was not so easy to deal with, and the people were in a very bad situation now. Even such a person could bully the people, and I believe that other powerful people must have done a lot of bad things in secret. If this matter is not resolved one day, the people will fall into endless pain. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Bai Luo hesitated for a while, and finally made his own decision. He asked Mondo and Duo to call some of the able-bodied men from the people's homes in the town, and almost every able-bodied man was still selling Bai Luo's face. In the evening, some people gathered in Bai Luo's hall. Seeing that most people had arrived, Bai Luo stood in the middle of the crowd and expressed his thoughts. "Everyone, please be quiet. I, Ding, called you all here today because I have something to discuss with you." Then the crowd became quiet, and the people were waiting for Bai Luo to say the next sentence. I believe everyone has discovered recently that there are indeed many sects and forces here. These people rely on their large numbers to bully the people here. They are simply hooligans. I think we can join hands to deal with them. Otherwise, it would be too frustrating to be bullied by them all the time. As soon as Bai Luo finished speaking, the crowd began to discuss busily. Everyone had their own opinions on this matter. After all, those people have done a lot of bad things recently. Seeing that everyone's response was good, Bai Luo continued to speak. Anyway, I'm going to say this today. As long as you need my help, I can lead you to deal with these people. From now on, we are brothers, and can call each other brothers. If those people dare to bully us again, I will never let them go. Bai Luo said this with great confidence. The people have suffered a lot in this regard. Now that someone is willing to stand up for them, they are naturally very happy. So soon these people responded directly to Bai Luo. They were all willing to join Bai Luo's team and express their loyalty to Bai Luo. Chapter 635. Giant rock falls from the sky. At this point, Bai Luo was naturally very happy. At the same time, he also asked everyone to rest first, and he began to practice meditation again. The next morning, Bai Luo stayed in the village. Because he was not used to the surrounding environment and the sound insulation of the house, he did not sleep well that night. When he woke up, he saw that the sky outside was not completely bright. He rubbed his painful eyes and sighed helplessly. Bai Luo felt inexplicably irritated, so he ignored everything else and sat up on the bed, thinking about other things. Just when he was thinking hard alone, he heard the bustling sound coming from outside. He wanted to go out and observe, but gave up. Bai Luo listened to their conversation and knew that they got up early to work. Unlike other places, the people here mainly watch the farming. Boom. Bang bang bang. He thought he had nothing to do. When he was hesitating whether to catch up on sleep, he heard a loud noise coming from outside. Before he could react, he felt the house shaking. Bai Luo's whole body was alert. He didn't expect such a thing to happen suddenly, so he quickly cleaned up without any hesitation. He looked at such a serious situation, as if someone didn't do it deliberately, otherwise it would not be possible for this sound to continue. Bai Luo's brows were tightly knitted together. He was helpless in such a situation. In the end, he could only go out to check the specific situation and then think of a solution. After he went out, he saw a lot of boulders falling from the sky. The shapes of these boulders were basically the same size. Some were sharper and some were rounder. Bai Luo couldn't believe what he saw. Such a large natural situation was very suspicious. He stood silently at the side and observed. Why did it happen suddenly? He couldn't figure out the reason for the sudden appearance of such a situation, so he said it to himself, and then he found that the villagers around him had hidden. Bai Luo looked at their trembling appearance, and he still understood it very much. After all, if such a huge rock really fell on them, the consequences would be disastrous. When he was thinking about a solution, he saw that the boulders fell to the ground, and the whole ground was sunken. Bai Luo observed that there was no movement. The huge rocks in the sky seemed to have stopped falling. He waited for a long time, but did not find any more rocks falling. He knew that such a situation was unstable, so he guessed that it might have stopped, but he did not dare to draw too many conclusions. This matter was not something he could control. Villagers, let's get closer and take a look. Bai Luo looked at the villagers hiding in the distance and said what he was thinking directly, and even took a few steps in their direction. They had not expected such a problem to appear in the village. Now there was no other choice except to solve it. The villagers knew Bai Luo. Seeing that he had come out to speak, they had some thoughts in their hearts. However, they were very scared when they thought of the scene they had just seen. They did not want to go up impulsively. If the situation just now happened, the consequences would be disastrous. They just shook their heads in the direction of Bai Luo. The villagers did not speak, but used actions to express their inner thoughts. In any case, they would not agree with Bai Luo's approach now. I'll go with you to take a look. It's okay. Bai Luo looked at their reactions and guessed that this would happen. Such a thing had already made them feel scared, and asking again at this time would definitely increase this feeling. He rarely had the patience to talk to them like this, but now that he thought he would also put himself in danger, he still persuaded them. The faces of the villagers were all pale. The scene of the huge rock falling from the sky just now happened in front of them. Even without dodging, they could still feel the dust blowing in their faces. It was fine to experience such a close scene once, but they never wanted to get close to those huge rocks again. Who knows what kind of disaster it might bring, and they were very scared. Some of the villagers had more or less communicated with Bai Luo in the past few days, so they still had a good impression of him. There was no way to help him in such a situation. Brother Ding, don't embarrass us, we are really scared. Yes, we dare not even look at such a huge monster. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR published this novel for the first time. Bai Luo thought about the solution. Looking at the scene in front of him, he knew that he could not solve it completely by himself. Besides, he just observed it and thought it was nothing. Besides, during their conversation just now, such a long time had passed, and there was still no phenomenon of boulders falling from the sky. He guessed that it might have stopped. Bai Luo could feel their fear when he heard their trembling voices, but if this matter was not resolved, there was no guarantee of what would happen in the future. He did not want to let this matter pass like this. Besides, the situation of these boulders would not disappear out of thin air, so he still had to find out the reason. Bai Luo was very persistent about this matter, so he quickly came to the villagers, looked at the scene in front of him, and explained to them, "Look, it's okay now, let's go together." He spoke earnestly about the current situation, and then observed the reactions of each of them. He found that they were still in the same expression as before, but fortunately, they were relieved. The villagers heard what Bai Luo said, and there was no way to change the fear in their hearts. They still shook their heads in his expectant eyes. Originally, some of the villagers were shaken, and they had compromised after Bai Luo's repeated consolation, but not all of them. They looked at the villagers around them who were still determined, and finally they were unable to take this step, and they did not agree with Bai Luo's idea. Bai Luo originally thought that it was just a matter of comforting them, but he did not expect that things would develop much more difficult than he imagined. He shook his head helplessly, not knowing what to do. What he did not know was the reason for the villagers' fear, which was not particularly important now. The only important thing was to rack their brains to convince him. "Are you still worried about me being here? I will protect you, and I will never hurt you." Bai Luo thought for a while, and then said what he wanted to say, lowered his head, and began to ponder, without looking at their reactions, for fear that the situation just now would happen again. He had already thought about it. If the result was the same, he would go alone to observe the situation. After all, solving the current situation was the first priority. Chapter 636, Abnormality. When Bai Luo said these words, there was a hint of forbearance in his tone. If this matter had not occurred in the village, there might not be such a request. Besides, they had been here for a short time, and did not know what the real situation was. Otherwise, they would not have known any reason when such a situation occurred. Bai Luo did not have much patience to begin with, and now he had to waste all of it on this matter. He felt it was a pity to think about it, but he still patiently discussed it. After he finished speaking, he ignored the villagers' reactions and thought about this matter alone, observing the material of the boulders. Bai Luo thought that these boulders might not be ordinary. He speculated based on the sound they made and the feeling they looked like, and thought it was possible. While he was still thinking about it, he felt the sound of the villagers' footsteps, and when he looked up, he saw them coming around. "Brother Ding, we believe you." The villagers saw Bai Luo's serious expression just now, and realized that he was discussing this matter very seriously, so they still felt a little bit reluctant. They discussed it again later, and finally agreed to observe carefully, because of Bai Luo's prestige here. The villagers were moved by Bai Luo's words, and planned to go with him to observe, so they hurried to his side, and talked in his direction. Bai Luo didn't expect them to agree so quickly. They were ready to continue to deal with him. Now he just nodded, and took them closer. After they approached, they began to observe closely. Because of the quietness around them, the sound of their breathing was very obvious. Bai Luo looked at these boulders, and found that they were not much different from ordinary stones. Out of curiosity, he couldn't help but touch them. He found that the texture was the same through touch, and there was no situation as he imagined, so he was very confused. The villagers were still worried at first, but seeing Bai Luo's actions, they also began to observe bravely, looking very serious. Some of them even felt a burst of coolness on the boulders, as if they felt from the inside out, very comfortable. The villagers gradually came to believe that these boulders were not a disaster but a blessing. They began to lie on their backs, closed their eyes, and began to enjoy everything now. For such weather, being able to have such a naturally formed environment brought them a lot of convenience, and they all began to feel it. What are you doing? Brother Ding, it's very cool up there, come and try it. We should have listened to you at the beginning, come early and enjoy it early. Bai Luo heard the noise getting smaller and smaller, and walked in front of the boulder. Looking at the scene above, he couldn't help but frown. He quickly came to the position in front of them, observed the enjoyment on their faces, and realized that something was wrong, and put his hands on the boulder. Bai Luo didn't feel much. Just when he was about to say something, he heard their voices talking. Seeing them so satisfied, he felt even more strange. He thought this situation was wrong, and worried that something bad would happen, so he quickly shouted in their direction. Get out of here. Bai Luo looked at the sound of the discussion just now, which completely affected the villagers around him. Suddenly, he saw that the boulder was full of people lying, all with a look of enjoyment on their faces. He realized the seriousness of the matter and thought it was abnormal. When he spoke, he found that the villagers did not react. Bai Luo knew that they were greedy for the current feeling. If it were not for the stimulation brought by the coolness, they might not feel comfortable in their bodies. He thought that, before he found out the matter, he still couldn't let them take such a risk. After making a decision, he pulled them down directly. At first, the villagers were still feeling the feeling of being surrounded by comfort. Suddenly, they felt strength in their arms. Seeing Bai Luo's anxious look, they didn't care. Brother Ding, what's wrong with you? It's very comfortable here. Brother Ding, come and try it. They looked at Bai Luo's nervous expression, because the comfortable feeling made them not want to leave this place. If possible, they wanted to stay here. Bai Luo listened to what they said, and even his tone revealed a relaxed and happy feeling, which made him think that something was wrong with this place. He didn't expect that they were so obsessed with this place. He knew that he couldn't let them go on like this. Who knows what kind of situation might happen at that time. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR published this novel for the first time. Bai Luo ignored what they said just now, and the expression on his face became helpless. He gritted his teeth, and pulled them all down from the boulder. He was even worried that they would continue to climb up, so he sped up his hands, to prevent them from having the chance. After doing all this, he was a little out of breath. Bai Luo did not expect that this matter would be so physically demanding. Seeing that the boulder had returned to its previous state, he thought that what he did was worth it. Brother Ding, what's wrong with you? When he was pulling them back just now, he looked at the expressions on their faces and felt that they were different from before. The specific reason still needs to be studied. The villagers came down from above, but they did not understand Bai Luo's behavior, so they simply could not help but ask. Because of one of them's questions, the other villagers also looked at Bai Luo's direction intently, eager to know the reason for doing so. Bai Luo focused his attention on them, knowing that there was no way to directly say such a situation, and even if he did, they would not understand. He had not expected this to happen, so he had prepared to study it carefully, and he looked at them and explained. Listen to me, I suspect this is not normal, trust me and don't do it again. I will definitely give you an explanation. Bai Luo said this and left. When he saw that the villagers did not make any other moves, he naturally felt relieved. He first returned to the room, and after just observing, he guessed that they might have been under some kind of illusion, otherwise it would not be like this. Bai Luo suddenly thought of Mondo and O2, and was ready to take them to study this situation together. Chapter 637, Blue Masked Man. Even though the villagers disagreed verbally, they still pouted and said nothing because of Bai Luo's prestige. They all nodded and dispersed. They believed in Bai Luo in their hearts, but they didn't understand his behavior just now. In order to continue to feel comfortable, they were willing to wait for him to figure it out. Bai Luo didn't know what they were thinking in the room. After what happened just now, he found out that they were so stubborn, so he wanted to solve the problem even more. He thought that if the truth came out early, the villagers might not be hurt too much, and it would be under control. Bai Luo went to the room to find Mondo and O2. Seeing that they were still drowsy, he came to them and prepared to tell them what happened just now. Mondo, Do2, wake up quickly. He thought that the movement of the boulder just now didn't wake them up, and he felt very strange, and his brows frowned involuntarily. Mondo and Do2 woke up and saw Bai Luo standing in front of them. They woke up suddenly and stood up in a panic. Brother Bai, we just went out to check, and then they were indeed awakened just now, so they hurried out to check the situation. After they calmed down, they were completely relieved. Mondo explained his behavior just now and felt Bai Luo's gaze. Later, his voice became smaller and smaller. His expression became panicked, but fortunately Bai Luo did not care about this matter and quickly took them outside again. Bai Luo looked at the boulder outside and found nothing strange. He was still a little confused and didn't even know how to solve this matter. Just now, he found that Mondo and Do2 next to him were also confused, so he told them what happened later and his guess. Mondo didn't expect that there would be such a situation. He originally thought it was a natural situation. Since there were no other problems, he ignored it. While thinking, he came to the side of the boulder with a serious look, intending to study with Bai Luo carefully. After all, he still had to figure it out quickly. Just after Mondo made his decision, he suddenly felt a little cool. He thought it was the situation that Bai Luo just mentioned, so he didn't care. Before he could react, he felt his body flying into the air. His hands and feet became uncontrollable, and he couldn't even open his eyes. Mondo realized that something was wrong and struggled eagerly. After a while, he found that his body felt restrained. He opened his mouth to shout, but no sound came out. Fear arose in his heart, and his mind became blank. Bai Luo was the first to notice the hurricane. Seeing Mondo's body being blown away, he hurried over to support and tried to save him now. In such a critical situation, he had reacted very quickly, but it was still useless. He watched this happen. Bai Luo didn't expect such a situation to happen. What happened made him more and more confused, so he became a little irritable. Just when he was at a loss, he inadvertently saw a lot of stars appear in the sky. He didn't care at first, but suddenly realized that it was daytime. Bai Luo looked at the strange situation and frowned even more. He had never felt the appearance of this phenomenon before, and his guess was more firm. He had already noticed something was wrong just now. Looking at the large area of stars in the sky, he thought it couldn't be just a spectacle. Bai Luo thought that the situation might be just part of it. He didn't know what would happen next, so he could only be alert. He already had a bad premonition in his heart at this time. He observed that there were still many villagers around him. Because of the situation, they were reluctant to leave. Bai Luo thought that now was the best time to evacuate, so he quickly rushed to the crowd and said what he was thinking. You guys hurry up and evacuate here. Evacuate. It will be dangerous. You guys hurry up and evacuate. Because it was quiet around, his voice was very obvious. Some people left in panic, fearing that something bad would happen. Bai Luo looked at their figures and was still very satisfied. At least he could believe what he said, but just thinking like this, some people still stood there stubbornly. He stared at those people, as if he wanted to see the reason on their faces, and shook his head helplessly. There was no way. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR published this novel for the first time. Just now they told us to leave and nothing would happen, but now they must be lying. Because there were so many people and they were not evenly distributed. In order to avoid the imagined things from happening, they continued to let the villagers evacuate. Some people not only refused to listen to the persuasion, but also seemed a little unconvinced, talking about Bai Luo's behavior, and the words they said were not pleasant to hear. Bai Luo ignored them. After all, if he didn't care about the safety of his life, he would have no way to do it, even if he was very capable. Moreover, this bad feeling seemed to be around him all the time, making him feel closer and closer, and he became anxious. Just as Bai Luo was shuttling among the crowd, he suddenly stopped in place, feeling someone following him, and even a pair of eyes staring at him. He guessed that things had gradually become complicated. For his safety, he took out the magic weapon, and prepared to check it carefully. Bai Luo could feel that he didn't think this was an illusion. If he could really find them, he would quickly eliminate them. He guessed that these people might be coming for him, but thinking about it, it didn't seem to be the case, which made him feel distressed, and didn't know what to do. I really guessed it. Bai Luo checked with the magic weapon, and indeed saw a lot of masked men in blue clothes appearing behind him on the right. He said it to himself when he saw them. He didn't know the other party's identity, but he just looked at them without any intention of taking action, as if they were waiting for them to come over. Bai Luo looked at those blue masked men, guessing that their appearance meant that the things they would face next would be tricky. When he was frowning, he saw Mondo rushing towards him. Looking at his appearance, he knew that he had escaped. Chapter 638, Unknown Creatures. Bai Luo looked at Mondo and said nothing. There was not much time to ask about this matter at this time. He could only solve the current matter first. He left in Mondo's somewhat puzzled eyes, ready to find out the specific situation of these blue masked people. Only in this way can he explain it clearly. Bai Luo came to them quickly, thinking about the current situation, and looked in their direction, and said his thoughts directly. Who are you? Why are you here? Is all this your behavior? His emotions were a little high, and even the tone of his voice was full of reprimands, so those blue masked people did not react. Mondo looked at this situation, and followed Bai Luo. Seeing that he was lost in thought, he did not speak to disturb his thoughts. He felt that Bai Luo was in a low mood now, and that feeling was like punching cotton, which was useless. Those blue masked people were still standing there, but Bai Luo knew that if it were not for the magic weapon, they might have been followed by them. The reason why they did not make more movement now was because he did not leave here, so this result came about. Bai Luo waited for a while, and found that the blue masked man was still in the same situation as before. He shook his head helplessly. He was most afraid of facing such a situation. He thought about it, and thought that these people would definitely not appear out of thin air. If that was the case, he was prepared to keep a hand. Maybe he could find something. Bai Luo looked at the surrounding environment, and knew that their purpose was not these. He guessed that there might be something he didn't know, so he planned to continue to track it down. Brother Bai, what should they do now? Mondo noticed that Bai Luo was thoughtful, so he glanced at the blue masked man, and found that they were indifferent, and it was difficult to find anything in a short time. When he was thinking about giving some advice, he saw that Bai Luo seemed to be moved and looked in his direction and started talking. Mondo, take the people back to the manor not far from the interest. Bai Luo listened to Mondo's voice, and knew that he was also worried about this situation. Although he didn't say it, he could hear it, so he arranged it directly. He thought that, if this was the case, he was the only one left, and he didn't know what he would be busy with next, so he patted their shoulders. Mondo and Duo 2 had never had any objection to Bai Luo's arrangement, but they knew what they were going to face next, and were still a little worried. Brother Bai, you. Don't worry, you go first, and we'll talk later. Bai Luo heard his hesitant voice, and guessed what he wanted to say, so he interrupted him and responded directly. After he finished speaking, he nodded to them to make them feel at ease, with a look of peace in his eyes, fearing that they would continue to talk. After Bai Luo finished all these things, he felt relieved when he saw their backs leaving. He felt the surrounding environment, and began to observe. Just as he was thinking about this, he suddenly made a major discovery. He saw a lot of collapsed areas on the ground, and he immediately thought of something. Bai Luo's eyes flashed with a trace of panic, thinking that this could not be left by a natural phenomenon. After all, he had never seen such a scene before. He did not speak, but quickly came up, and began to observe closely, and found that it was indeed the same as he thought. Bai Luo faced this situation, and began to make bold guesses. Moreover, after several incidents, he thought it was impossible to be too simple. He guessed that there might be some monster underground, otherwise such a situation would not be possible, so he prepared to take measures to find out. Bai Luo thought that in the current situation, if he could go down here to observe, he could only use the method of drilling the ground, and he was a little reluctant. He knew that the most important thing now was to figure it out, so he had to bite the bullet and go underground. Sure enough, he felt the breath of unknown creatures as soon as he entered. It really exists. Bai Luo seemed to be a little bit unbelievable, but because there was no problem with the feeling, it also confirmed that his guess was correct. He was even more curious about the purpose of the unknown creatures. Since they could have such means, they should not need to use such a situation. I'm really scared. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Just when Bai Luo was still thinking seriously about the current situation, he suddenly felt a deafening sound. He realized what he had just thought, and when he turned around, he saw the huge creature in front of him, which made his pupils dilate, and he was very shocked. After Bai Luo's quick dodge, fortunately, there was no big problem, and he successfully avoided this thrilling action, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. He patted his chest and began to talk to himself. The whole person seemed to be immersed in what had just happened, and the bloody mouth of the unknown creature was still vivid in his mind. Bai Luo thought of the scene just now, especially the action of trying to swallow him into his mouth, which made him still feel scared and couldn't calm down for a long time. He relaxed for a while and then completely calmed down. Although it was thrilling just now, he also determined that his guess in his heart was correct. It's really interesting. Bai Luo thought about this situation and said it helplessly, thinking that if he continued to explore here, he might be able to gain a lot. And just now he had made an observation on this situation and found that there was a different world inside, and he hadn't seen the unknown creature just now. Bai Luo was unsure about the identity of this unknown creature. After all, it just flashed by in panic and quickly returned to normal. But he had a hunch in his heart. He always felt that this unknown creature was different, at least it could not be compared with other creatures. Bai Luo suddenly thought of something. His eyes shone with light, and his whole expression became energetic. He wanted to find out quickly. He thought that this series of things might be related to this unknown creature. Since he had discovered it, there was no reason to give up. After Bai Luo made up his mind, he heard the breathing sound of the unknown creature. Such a loud sound echoed throughout the underground, and it was still very scary. He did not retreat, knowing that he could only see his true face when he got closer. Chapter 639 Cooperation between the two parties. Bai Luo thought so, and walked towards the unknown creature in the empty underground with courage. As it got darker and darker, he felt even more insecure. He stumbled for a long time, and suddenly found a faint light, which made him feel more confident. Bai Luo guessed that the unknown creature might be living in it, and thought that it was so vigilant that it was attacked not long after he came in. It can be seen that the unknown creature may have discovered his breath when he found the ground collapsed, otherwise it would not be so fast. Bai Luo knew that all this was just speculation, and in order to confirm his doubts, he couldn't help but speed up his pace and prepare to see him quickly. What he didn't know was that the unknown creature thought it didn't mean much after the test just now, so he waited here. When Bai Luo arrived, he saw the figure of the unknown creature and saw that he lived in the upper position, and the color of his body became the same as the surrounding walls. If he hadn't seen the bright eyes of the unknown creature, he would not have noticed his figure at all, but after seeing it, he was still a little scared. Bai Luo found that he had never seen him like this before. In addition to being a little scared, he was more curious about his identity and other aspects. He came to him carefully. Because the unknown creature did not make any movement, Bai Luo even began to suspect whether he was asleep. Bai Luo saw his appearance. Although he had never seen it before, he could still doubt him. He guessed that he might be a high-level monster. When he thought of this, he still felt very lucky. He had encountered such a rare thing, so he should not give up. Are you asleep? Can you see me? Bai Luo had learned about high-level monsters before, and knew that they were spiritual. Although they could not have emotions like humans, they had basic abilities. He was just guessing about this situation. In order to confirm his guess, he began to talk to him tentatively and couldn't wait to know the result. Only when Bai Luo confirmed this matter, the next thing would be easy to handle. Otherwise, the two of them would just stare at each other here, and it would not solve the problem. After he finished speaking, he stared at the direction of the unknown creature and found that he had changed. He was still motionless just now, but now he was moved. After Bai Luo got the news, he was still secretly happy. After all, his guess in his heart had been confirmed. If there was no spirituality, perhaps they would have fought each other long ago. Why are you here? Why did you choose to go underground? After a series of thoughts, he seemed to be encouraged and continued to talk to the unknown creature, wanting to find out quickly. Bai Luo thought that the monsters before would have a specific place to choose, but it would definitely not be the underground here. He didn't think it was where he should be. When he was wondering about this, he heard the sound of the unknown creature. Before he could react, he saw the unknown creature close at hand. Bai Luo hadn't reacted yet. He was still thinking too seriously about this matter just now, otherwise he wouldn't have discovered it until now. Before he had time to think more, he felt the sound of breathing on his face and felt the existence of the unknown creature very realistically. Bai Luo had been very calm just now, but now whenever he saw him, he would remember the scene just now. He didn't want to be like this, but his mind was filled with lingering images that he couldn't forget at all, and they kept coming back to him. The unknown creature seemed to have sensed Bai Luo's nervousness and quickly returned to its previous state, and then he heard him laughing at himself. Ha ha ha. It's been a long time since I've seen such a lively scene here. Bai Luo suddenly felt creepy when he heard the voice of the unknown creature echoing throughout the underground, but he quickly returned to normal. He listened silently and was very happy to see that he was really a high-level monster and wanted to ask him something even more. I'm sorry, I just barged in unintentionally and didn't mean to disturb you. Bai Luo looked at him and couldn't tell what kind of mood and temper he was in, so he hurriedly said what he was thinking in order to be safe. After he finished speaking, he also deliberately observed the emotions of the unknown creature. Since it didn't get angry directly, he felt relieved and understood its bloody mouth at the beginning. Bai Luo guessed that it might be dissatisfied with the intruders. Even if it did so, it was understandable. It was also a means for him to protect himself. I came here to practice in seclusion, but someone disturbed me. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar released this novel for the first time. The unknown creature did not answer what he just said, but talked to himself. When he was still thinking about what to say, he heard Bai Luo's anxious voice. It has nothing to do with them, but a group of people wearing blue clothes. I believe what you said. They have been digging the ground recently, which makes me very uncomfortable. After Bai Luo finished explaining, he heard the unknown creature respond without hesitation. At first, he was still shocked, but slowly returned to normal. He thought that, since this was the case, he also had selfish motives for them, so he took the initiative to put forward his ideas. But let's cooperate. I will destroy those people. I don't trust anyone. Just use illusion to trap them. When Bai Luo was a little uneasy, he heard the voice of the unknown creature, and suddenly he realized the reason for the illusion just now. He thought that, if this was the case, he would want to try this thing even more, so that it would be beneficial to them, and not just a little benefit. Bai Luo fell into deep thought, thinking about the true identity of the unknown creature, and was still prepared to continue negotiating with him. If it didn't work, he would leave. He was unwilling to give up, and it was not easy to find such a good opportunity, so he said his thoughts directly. Believe it or not, I'll try it, and you can make the decision. How about it? After Bai Luo finished speaking, the surroundings fell into silence, and even the environment became strange. He was still a little worried, but suddenly saw him nodded. After he confirmed it again and again, he knew that he agreed, and he was very relieved. Chapter 640, Heading to the Manor. After a while, Bai Luo slowly stopped. Now he has successfully returned to the ground. He didn't expect that the matter would be solved so smoothly. He thought it would take a lot of effort, but he didn't expect that the man actually gave in. However, this is also very good news. Then Bai Luo touched his pocket again. In this pocket were some pills and some magic tools that the man gave back to Bai Luo. Bai Luo had cleaned up all these things before, and the loss was not much. Although Bai Luo did waste some time during this period, the current situation looks good. However, Bai Luo did not plan to stay here. After all, this matter happened too suddenly. He spent a lot of effort here, so after being free, Bai Luo wanted to leave here directly. But Bai Luo just raised his leg. He suddenly felt that there seemed to be something abnormal in his body, and this feeling was not so clear. Bai Luo just felt that there seemed to be an extra substance on his body, which was found in his body. Could it be that something really happened? Thinking of this, Bai Luo also quickly stopped his steps and then checked the situation of his body. As a result, he felt a very sticky liquid on his back. Bai Luo frowned and then thought about wiping it off. But these things seemed to have been stuck on it, and he had no way to deal with them for a while. After realizing that something was wrong, Bai Luo's expression became more and more ugly. But now he had no other way. Just when Bai Luo had no way to solve the situation in front of him, he found that he seemed to be abnormally excited. Although the situation was very bad now, he subconsciously wanted to continue to move forward. But Bai Luo knew that he had to adjust his mood now. After all, he didn't know what would happen next. Bai Luo frowned, then stood up and used his spiritual power. But things were not as simple as he thought. Even if he used spiritual power to adjust himself, the effect was not so obvious. But at least Bai Luo could control himself now. He slowly exhaled and then turned around and looked at the situation around him. There was no one else nearby. Unfortunately, nothing unexpected happened. He recalled the route he had taken, and then he chose a path based on his memory and continued to walk forward. Nothing happened in front of him, and Bai Luo had been at peace. But as he walked, a voice came from behind him. The voice was very strange, and Bai Luo had never heard it before. But now someone was calling his name with that strange voice. Because the situation was really suspicious, Bai Luo didn't dare to agree. He didn't turn back to check the situation. But the voice still didn't mean to stop. On the contrary, Bai Luo could clearly feel that the voice was getting closer and closer to him. Bai Luo also knew that this was not going to work, so he quickly turned around to check the situation behind him. As soon as he turned around, he found that a very strange guy was approaching, and the speed was very fast. The appearance of that thing looked very strange, and Bai Luo couldn't be sure what kind of creature it was. Because there were too many unknown factors now, Bai Luo didn't want to deal with it at all. But that thing was approaching him at a very fast speed. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo could only turn around and run. But before he had taken a few steps, some ropes suddenly appeared in front of him. These ropes seemed to be injected with power by someone, and he was blocked by these ropes when he took a few steps forward. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo knew that it would be impossible for him to escape in this direction. However, the thing behind him had already caught up, and he could only bite the bullet now. Thinking of this, Bai Luo did not hesitate for a long time. Anyway, he knew that thing would also attack himself, and then Bai Luo drew his sword from his waist. When he saw that thing rushing towards him, Bai Luo directly took the sword to meet it. However, that thing was not so easy to deal with, because its speed was too fast. When Bai Luo stabbed with the sword, it was dodged directly. Bai Luo staggered, and then quickly turned around. Sure enough, he was attacked from behind, but Bai Luo reacted in time and finally dodged it. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR is the first to publish this novel. Bai Luo couldn't help but take a breath, and then rushed forward with the sword. After a few rounds, Bai Luo had the upper hand. Although that thing was indeed very annoying, its strength seemed to be inferior to that. But Bai Luo didn't want to waste too much time with this thing here. After all, he couldn't subdue it now. He could only accompany it here. But as he fought, Bai Luo found that the spiritual power in his body suddenly fluctuated. Then Bai Luo felt the existence of a special mark. Because the situation was special now, although Bai Luo was not afraid of the thing in front of him, he also knew that he couldn't continue to fight like this. But Bai Luo didn't know what was going on, so he tried to call the system in his heart. But the system didn't give him any response, and Bai Luo couldn't help but curse in his heart. But there was no way to deal with him. After all, the system didn't want to appear, and he couldn't force it to come out. But fortunately, the thing in front of him was not his opponent at all, and he didn't need to spend a lot of effort to escape. After making a decision, Bai Luo left here directly. Because the thing was so fast and was still chasing Bai Luo didn't expect it to chase him so relentlessly. But his speed was not as fast as it was. Looking at the dogskin plaster behind him, that couldn't be shaken off, Bai Luo decisively flew on his sword. After leaving the ground, it seemed that the thing had no way to deal with Bai Luo. Looking at the thing at a loss below, Bai Luo couldn't help but laugh. Fortunately, all the situations have been resolved now, which also made Bai Luo feel relieved. Because the purpose was clear, although some unpleasant things happened during the journey, fortunately there were no accidents later. Not long after, Bai Luo returned to the manor. As soon as Bai Luo landed, he put away his sword. He thought about what happened there just now, and then thought about the system that was still hiding and pretending to be dead, and he felt very hateful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641, Lost Sense of Proportion. After all, this is not the first or second time. Every time when he wants to find the system, when something happens, the system is silent. Bai Luo also feels very aggrieved. Whenever there is something, the system will come to bother him, but when he wants to find it, he can't find anyone. Then Bai Luo started to curse. Your system is really a dog. I kept calling you to come out before, but you didn't come out. Are you really not going to help me? If I really die here, I wonder who you can ask for help. No one will be so hardworking and uncomplaining to complete any ghost tasks in the future. Although the system has not spoken before, it has not chosen to play dead now. Then his voice became louder. These are all your own experiences, and everything has its own destiny, which is also destiny. Although I can intervene in some things, there are still some things I cannot violate. So it's not that I don't want to help. You need to overcome these by yourself. After listening to the system's words, Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned. Now he understands what the system means. Anyway, no matter what happens, it's his bad luck, and it's not up to others. Bai Luo felt helpless. After all, this was too unfair. He had encountered so many troubles in his daily life, but in the end, he was told that this was his fate. However, Bai Luo did not intend to talk nonsense with the system. He knew that it would be useless, even if he talked to the system more. After all, the system had no feelings at all. He could only do things according to his own plan. Bai Luo sighed. Anyway, he had no ability to solve this matter, so Bai Luo turned around and left without thinking too much. He had a clear purpose. After all, he had returned to the manor. He did not know whether there were any exceptions here. When he left, there seemed to be many things that had not been solved. Now he was wasting a lot of time there, and he did not know what the situation was like here. Thinking of this, Bai Luo could not help but speed up his pace. He hurried over here and found Mondo and the others. Mondo saw that Bai Luo was back and then hurried to Bai Luo. Seeing that Bai Luo was safe, Mondo felt relieved. After all, Bai Luo had not had any clues during this period, and Mondo had no way to investigate Bai Luo's affairs. Because the things in the manor still needed his care, he could not just leave them alone. Mondo was worried these days, but fortunately, Bai Luo has returned safely now. Then Mondo smiled and said, "Brother Bai, you are finally back. If you don't come back, I will really have to take people to look for you over there." Bai Luo smiled. He also knew that he really had no information sent back during this period of time, and it was inevitable that everyone was worried. But the most important thing now is not this matter at all. Bai Luo did not hesitate and asked about the situation here. Nothing happened over there, but did anything unexpected happen over there? After all, there were many things that were not resolved when I left last time. I wonder what the situation is like here now? Bai Luo's tone was a little anxious, and he seemed to be very worried about the situation here. After hearing Bai Luo's words, Mondo nodded helplessly. Because after Bai Luo left, the situation here became more and more weird. In the past, only ordinary villagers disappeared, but now this situation has not only not been curbed, but has become more and more serious. Even if he tried his best to patrol around here, people still disappeared one after another. And now there are unexpected situations, because now there are some supernatural events around from time to time. The people below spread this matter, and Mondo also felt that this time it was really weird. Thinking about the mess here, Mondo couldn't help rubbing his aching temple. After all, Bai Luo was not here recently, and all the things were solved by Mondo and everyone. Mondo was exhausted during this period. Brother Bai, there are indeed many unexpected things happening here. It's okay that there was no progress in the last investigation, and there were actually a lot of supernatural events later. Now everyone here is panicking. Everyone is afraid of provoking some monsters and ghosts, and really offending the gods. After listening to Mondo's words, Bai Luo frowned. He didn't expect things to develop like this, but Bai Luo didn't think there were really any monsters in the world. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. He didn't think it would be so coincidental that so many things suddenly happened when he was away. Then Bai Luo directly stated his point of view. It's fine if the people here don't know the truth of the matter, but we have to make it clear that there can't be any real supernatural events in this world. Anyway, the last supernatural event was just someone behind the scenes, so don't be scared by the person behind the scenes, otherwise this matter will really be impossible to handle. But Mondo and the others didn't seem to be convinced by Bai Luo's statement. They now insisted that those things that happened were indeed caused by ghosts behind the scenes. Yifeng on the other side stood up and described some of the things that happened. Brother Bai, you must not know much about what happened here, since you haven't been here these days. There are indeed a lot of strange things that have happened recently, and our common understandings are different. We naturally believed that there were no ghosts in this world before, but the things that happened later also made me waver. Some other people on the side also nodded. Bai Luo talked with them for a long time, and finally understood the situation here. What about Will-o'-the-Wisp, knocking on the door in the middle of the night, crying children? These things were spread by them, as if they were supernatural. Bai Luo felt helpless when he saw their serious faces. He didn't expect that Mondo and the others really believed that this matter was manipulated by ghosts behind the scenes. Now this matter is difficult to deal with. After all, Mondo and the others now think that these things are supernatural events. Bai Luo explained to them for a long time, but it didn't work. In the end, Bai Luo could only sigh helplessly and then waved his hands. Since you don't want to believe it now, then I can only prove it to you. There is really no such mysterious thing in the world. There must be someone behind it. When I solve these cases, you will know what is going on. Although Bai Luo said it so confidently, Mondo and the others didn't seem to believe it. Chapter 642, Exploring the Truth. But none of this matters. As long as I investigate all these things, when the evidence is in front of them, they will believe me. Just when Bai Luo was still thinking about how to investigate this matter, there was a cry all of a sudden. This was the cry of a woman, and the voice was indeed very sad and creepy. The voice was very sharp, and Bai Luo couldn't help but frowned when he heard it. But it was okay. After all, Bai Luo could determine from the beginning that there must be someone behind this. I didn't know how to start investigating this matter before, but I didn't expect that person to come to me on his own initiative. After seeing this situation, Mondo quickly pointed to the direction where the sound came from and said to Bai Luo, "That's the sound, the cry of a female ghost. Recently, sometimes you can hear this cry nearby, which scares the people around here." Bai Luo couldn't help but sneer. After all, these things are now under his control. It just so happens that they came here on their own. This time I want to prove to you whether these things are real ghosts or someone is playing tricks behind the scenes. Bai Luo was so nonchalant that Mondo couldn't help but look at Bai Luo with some worry. But Mondo didn't say much. He naturally hoped that this matter was not as complicated as he thought, but now the facts are in front of him. Before, he didn't want to believe that there were really demons and ghosts in this world, but later there were many things that proved to him that his idea was wrong. Mondo sighed, but then he saw a figure not far ahead. He couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. It was Sadako. The female ghost was wearing a very long white dress, which had dragged on the ground. The black hair also directly covered the female ghost's entire head, which looked really creepy. After seeing this situation, Mondo quickly patted Bai Luo on the side and motioned Bai Luo to look over here. Because the person appeared so suddenly, Bai Luo was also startled when he looked in that direction. But Bai Luo didn't think it was really a ghost, so he quickly calmed down, and he was not afraid of the disheveled person in front of him. But Bai Luo couldn't reveal his thoughts at all. After all, he knew that the purpose of his visit this time was to investigate this matter clearly. And now the person in front of him was the clue for his investigation. If he took action now, he might scare the person away. So Bai Luo pretended to be very shocked, and then blocked the other people with his hands. What is that thing? Everyone, hurry back. The female ghost seemed to really think that she scared Bai Luo and the others, and then the crying sound was heard in the air again, mixed with his somewhat scary figure, which really achieved a scary effect. The female ghost continued to approach them. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo couldn't help but sneer in his heart. After all, this is the effect he wanted, but Bai Luo was still worried that the female ghost would do something else out of the ordinary. So when the female ghost approached them, although Bai Luo pretended to be very scared on the surface, he was silently releasing sword energy to the female ghost behind his back. Then, a burst of sword energy rushed directly towards the female ghost, but the others could not see it. Then a very intense scream came from the female ghost. This sound was indeed as terrifying as the crying sound. The people around felt a little worried when they saw the female ghost suddenly carrying her away. Mondo retreated one after another. Seeing everyone so scared, Bai Luo felt a little helpless. But soon Bai Luo found that among them, only Duo2 was not so scared. He looked at Duo2 on the side and then spoke. Duo2, why don't we go forward and check the situation? See what's going on with that person. Anyway, we have no other way now. After hearing Bai Luo's words, Duo2 didn't hesitate and nodded very readily. Okay. Then Bai Luo and Duo2 continued to walk forward. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. But the female ghost seemed to have discovered that something was wrong and then slowly moved in another direction. After seeing this, Bai Luo sneered in his heart. As expected, that person was not a real ghost. Someone was really playing tricks behind the scenes. But the road to chase over there was not so easy. There were other abnormal situations on the road. But fortunately, these were just tricks to scare people. Bai Luo was not scared by them. Duo2 was not afraid of these things. Although there were ghosts and wolves howling around, it was really scary at first. But as long as Bai Luo knew that those were people playing tricks behind the scenes to scare people, these things didn't sound so scary. Maybe when he was about to take a few steps, he found another abnormality. He found that some tree trunks in his manor were bleeding red blood. When he looked at them from a distance just now, Bai Luo found that these tree trunks were red. Bai Luo was still wondering at the beginning, but when he walked to the side and saw it later, he found that there was a lot of red liquid flowing down from them, so it looked like red tree trunks from a distance. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo went forward to check the situation. He didn't believe that there would be such a situation that violated the facts in this world. Usually, when such situations occurred, someone was behind the scenes. After seeing this situation, Mondo and the others did not dare to step forward. Bai Luo did not embarrass them and just let them watch from the side. He went forward to check the situation. Bai Luo approached the tree root and then reached out to touch it. However, when he touched it, Bai Luo found that the liquid on it was indeed very viscous, and it seemed to be real blood. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment and then guessed this should be pig blood that someone got from somewhere. But this person really spent a lot of effort. It must have taken a lot of effort to make such a large area of pig blood. Mondo and the others did not answer because they now felt that such situations were all supernatural events. It was not that someone was behind the scenes. These were just hints from the gods to them. Just when Bai Luo was still checking the situation of the tree trunk, Bai Luo suddenly heard a very subtle sound. Although the sound was a little far away from here, Bai Luo was still very keen to detect it. Chapter 643, Blurred Consciousness. He could clearly tell that it was the sound of a sharp blade being unsheathed. Bai Luo quickly looked around. Although he didn't know where the person was, he knew that the situation was not that simple. The sudden appearance of the female ghost just now, coupled with the things that happened later. Bai Luo knew that it was very likely that he was also calculated by them. Now it was possible that the purpose of those people had been achieved and they had come to this place. Thinking of this, Bai Luo did not hesitate for a long time and quickly made a protective shield. At the moment when Bai Luo made the protective shield, suddenly someone came towards them with a sword. Fortunately, the protective shield helped everyone to withstand the blow. The power was really not ordinary. When it hit the protective shield, a very loud noise was heard. Presumably, the person must have accumulated strength beside him before preparing to act. Bai Luo looked in the direction of the person and saw that the person was a masked man. Since he had already survived the blow just now and the person had appeared at this time, Bai Luo naturally did not intend to let him go. Then Bai Luo quickly took out his weapon and rushed forward. The man didn't expect Bai Luo's reaction to be so fast. Not only did he fail, but now he was defeated by Bai Luo. He reacted quickly, but he was still at a disadvantage in the end. The two of them fought equally, but this man was no match for Bai Luo. But during the fight, Bai Luo found that Duo2, who had just followed him, had disappeared. Bai Luo quickly used his internal force to check Duo2's breath, but found that Duo2's breath had disappeared. After realizing this, Bai Luo was also very worried about Duo2's situation. After all, this was not good news. Bai Luo hurriedly wanted to go over there to check the situation, but before he took a few steps forward, he was surrounded by a group of black-clothed men who rushed out. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo also knew that if he didn't solve the situation in front of him now, he couldn't leave here. I saw that the group of black-clothed men were slowly approaching Bai Luo. Bai Luo was a little helpless, but in the end he could only fight. Because he was really worried about Duo2's safety, Bai Luo was anxious to end the war, and he had to leave here quickly. But after fighting wave after wave, he found that he didn't gain any advantage. On the contrary, sometimes they relied on their large numbers and Bai Luo was at a disadvantage. Bai Luo could only grit his teeth and persist. After all, there was no one else around to help him. Now he couldn't take it lightly and had to move forward step by step. But soon Bai Luo found that this matter was really getting more and more wrong. Although a long fight might make him lose his physical strength, but now he could clearly feel that the spiritual power in his body was constantly dissipating and his strength was slowly decreasing. His hands gradually lost strength. After realizing this, Bai Luo's face became more and more ugly. The scene in front of him became more and more blurred, and he gradually couldn't see the faces of the people in front of him. The hand holding the sword became more and more weak. He didn't know how he fainted, but he knew that his consciousness suddenly disappeared. Half an hour later, after Bai Luo woke up, he felt pain in his body and a dizzy feeling in his head, which made it difficult for him to sit up quickly. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the unfamiliar environment around him. He suddenly felt that he was in an unfamiliar environment, which made him unable to react. Bai Luo did not expect this to happen. Thinking of this, he quickly groped under his body with his hands and found that his palms were cool. It was this feeling that made him sober up a little. He had not noticed it just now, but now he sat up in a panic. Hiss. Just when Bai Luo got up and wanted to check the specific situation around him, he felt a painful part of his body, which made him make a painful sound. His brows were tightly knitted together. Because he was not used to the sudden pain, his brain was blank for a while. Bai Luo relaxed for a while and returned to normal. Thinking about the touch of his hands just now, he suddenly found that he was on a stone slab. He thought about what happened before, which made his heart unable to calm down. Memories suddenly flooded his mind. Read the error-free version at 69 bookbar. 6 equals 9 plus underscore. Bai Luo realized something and quickly looked around. He found that there was no one there and his eyes became dim. How could this happen? Duo 2. Duo 2, can you hear me? He first thought about this secretly in his heart. It was a bad thing that the people around him disappeared, which made him feel uneasy. The important thing was that Bai Luo didn't understand some of the reasons at all, so now he had no other thoughts except to find them. He began to shout loudly. At first, he thought they were not far away. After a while, he found that he was just overthinking. Bai Luo didn't wait for any human nature at all. The surrounding environment suddenly became quiet, and no suspicious sounds were heard. He was no longer in the mood to think about other things. Thinking of Duo 2 and Mondo who were accompanying him, but now there was no trace of them. Bai Luo was nervous in the face of such a situation, and even his eyes were full of worry. He was very upset when he thought that their safety could not be guaranteed. He still remembered that when they followed him, he promised to guarantee their safety. Now it seems that he has not even done the simplest thing. Because it was too cool, Bai Luo quickly got down from the stone slab, looked around and planned to look for their figures, no matter what. Just when he was about to do this, a voice suddenly rang beside his ear, forcing him to stop and investigate. He listened to the voice and guessed that what was going to happen next must be very complicated, so he did not ignore it. At first, Bai Luo just knew there was a voice, and after listening carefully, he found that it was the voice of the old man before, and his eyes narrowed involuntarily. What he didn't expect was that the old man was so powerful. He didn't think so before, but the current situation made him believe it. Bai Luo knew that the old man had this ability, otherwise it wouldn't be the current situation, so he prepared to chat with him about the recent situation. Chapter 644, Staff. I'm not doing very well recently. He found an open space, looked at the unfamiliar surroundings, shook his head helplessly, and then sat on the ground and talked to the old man. Bai Luo thought that this was really the case recently. Bad things happened to him one after another, so that he had no chance to breathe. Now he finally got such an opportunity, and the people who were close to him disappeared, which made him feel helpless about the future. The old man heard his voice. As for what happened in these days, basically everyone saw it, so he didn't say anything. He just laughed. Although the sound was not particularly loud, Bai Luo still heard it very clearly, because it was a sound transmission method. Bai Luo felt his ridicule. If it were before, he might have resisted, but now he had no mood to do it, and could only bear it. It's okay. I hope to get help. Can you help me? He would not care about such a small matter, but now there are more important things to do, so he said what he thought in his heart. Bai Luo's voice sounded like a complaint, and there was not much seriousness in it, but it still sounded different to the old man. The old man saw Bai Luo's somewhat decadent look, and guessed that maybe he really encountered a difficult problem, otherwise he would not be here with his head down. He thought that, since Bai Luo already knew his identity, he had no intention of hiding it, and he appeared in front of Bai Luo directly. When Bai Luo was waiting for a response with his head down, he suddenly heard a movement in front of him, and he quickly raised his head when he thought of something. He was still a little shocked when he saw that it was the old man who came here. He was still communicating in another way just now, and he was still a little uncomfortable with it now. Bai Luo opened his mouth and hesitated to speak. He didn't know what to do for a while, as if he hadn't accepted such a thing happening, and he was already standing in front of him. I know what you said. The old man seemed to see what he was thinking, and he didn't rush to joke, but responded to what he said just now. He was also staring at the current situation, so he naturally knew everything about what he said just now. After all, he found Bai Luo and wanted him to complete this task. The old man knew that there were some things he couldn't do, and seeing that he was full of enthusiasm, he still trusted him very much, so he was ready to tell him the clues. The recent situation was caused by the masked man. Bai Luo was still nervous just now, but after listening to what the old man said, he gradually relaxed his vigilance and studied in the direction he just said. He then heard the clues provided by the old man again, and his tone was still very firm, so he had to look at the old man with speculative eyes. The old man naturally felt his gaze and knew that this would be the case, so he thought it was a normal reaction. He understood in his heart and didn't say much. He also looked at Bai Luo with his eyes fixed, and after a while, he looked at him and nodded, without the doubtful expression just now. Bai Luo listened to what the old man said. Although he believed what he said and thought it was caused by the masked man, he still had some doubts about this matter. He didn't think those people would have such ability, and he didn't even think that their identities could accomplish these, so he fell into deep thought. The old man looked at Bai Luo's frowning face, thinking that since he was already here, but he didn't hear his question, he couldn't help but become curious. He didn't expect this to happen. He thought he would have a lot of problems to solve, and now such silence is still a little uncomfortable. Bai Luo felt the old man's hot gaze, and the coolness of his body that had just touched the stone slab disappeared all of a sudden, and he even felt a little hot. His eyes began to look around, but thinking that this matter still had to be solved, he just said what he was thinking directly. Why are they so powerful? When the old man was wondering, he heard his voice and couldn't help but look in his direction. He was still thinking about telling him these things. He thought that the purpose of coming here was for this matter, and only by telling him the truth of the matter could he be completely convinced. The old man realized that time was tight and the task was heavy. Now hearing him say this, he became much more relaxed and responded without any scruples. They have a staff that can destroy the world. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR is the first to publish this novel. It is precisely because of this that they are so unscrupulous. His eyes became a little cloudy. When he thought of this, he looked into the distance and then told the truth. Bai Luo listened to the old man's voice and frowned even more, as if this degree could not express the irritation in his heart. He did not expect that there would be such a powerful thing, so he was still very curious, and it also proved that they did this because they had this. Bai Luo suddenly thought of something and suddenly looked in the direction of the old man. His eyes were full of complex emotions, which made him understand it all at once. It would be best if it can be destroyed. The old man just gave him this clue. The specific decision still needs to be made by him thinking clearly in his heart. After all, it is a very tricky thing. After he finished speaking, he looked at Jifeng and lowered his head as if he was thinking about this matter, but this time there was no ripple on his face, but a lot more determination. Bai Luo knew what the old man meant. Even if he did not express these, he might take the initiative to ask about this matter. He could not let this matter develop like this. He looked at the current situation and found the staff, which would be enough to deal with these masked men. The only thing to be thankful for now was that there was a breakthrough. Bai Luo looked at the old man with grateful eyes. The other party just nodded at him and said nothing else. The two looked at each other, reading the message in their eyes. He simply moved his body and found that there were no major problems. Even if he started looking now, it would not delay anything. I will definitely find it. Bai Luo's idea was very firm. He said his thoughts to himself, as if he was talking to the old man, or to himself. He might just want to remind him of this matter all the time, because only in this way can those masked men stop this series of behaviors. Chapter 645. Multiple figures injured. The old man listened to his voice and nodded with satisfaction, thinking that it was worth coming here. At least this matter was resolved. He looked at Bai Luo's current situation. He was alone here. If he remembered correctly, there were two people accompanying him. When the old man thought of this, he vaguely realized something. Thinking that Bai Luo's expression was a little bad at the beginning, he made a bold guess. He did not explain this matter directly. After all, it was his own matter, and he could only look for the staff after he could solve it. Bai Luo did not know that the old man was thinking like this. Seeing that the matter had been resolved, he found that he had no intention of leaving, and he looked like he was hesitant to speak. He vaguely guessed that there was something else. Thinking that he was here now, he simply asked clearly at once, to avoid inconvenience in the future. Old man, do you have anything else to explain? Since Bai Luo recognized his strength, his attitude was still very sincere. Now facing such a situation, he still said it directly. When the old man didn't know how to say this, he heard his voice, which was a step for him to say it more logically. The number of people on the other side should not be underestimated. I still want to remind you to get in touch with other people. He knew what he was thinking. Since it had become like this, he said it directly. Sure enough, he saw that Bai Luo's expression had changed. The old man didn't say too much about this matter. He knew that Bai Luo's awareness was very high, and he had completely understood what he had just said. He waited for a while, and saw Bai Luo react, and nodded in his direction, which was considered to be agreeing to this matter. The old man had no other ideas in the face of such a result, so he left directly. The surroundings became quiet again, and he was the only one. Bai Luo looked around, and confirmed that after the old man left, he was still a little irritable. After all, he didn't know where Daoist was now. He chose to listen to the old man this time, and he knew that the current situation was indeed as the old man said. Even if there was no such thing, he planned to find them first. Bai Luo was not sure about Daoist's safety, so he was always worried. Now that he didn't have any breath from him, he became anxious. He shook his head helplessly. Thinking about these two things together, he felt a splitting headache. Considering Daoist's safety, he still stood up. Bai Luo thought that, if they found Daoist, they would go to find the staff together, but they didn't know the specific situation, so they could only take it one step at a time. He observed that the sky had become a little dark, and he knew that such an environment was not good for him, so he simply quickened his pace. Later, Bai Luo didn't know how long it had been, and he felt Daoist's breath. He was very shocked, and didn't expect it to be like this. He didn't hesitate at all, and went straight to the place where the breath was, but it was very weak and there was no way to determine it. Bai Luo was still a little surprised at the beginning. When he just woke up, he sensed Daoist's breath, but didn't find any clues. He was a little worried about him, and now looking at this situation, he realized the seriousness of the matter, and now he was tightly surrounded by this feeling. Bai Luo didn't expect things to turn out like this. The feeling of nervousness and worry surged up in his heart again. He finally calmed down, but now it was all over again. He was a little relieved now. Fortunately, Daoist's breath was only intermittent, not completely lost, otherwise it would make things more difficult. Thinking of this, Bai Luo quickened his pace, wanting to find his location as soon as possible. He must make sure of his safety before talking about other things. After he decided, he continued to search through the faint breath. Sure enough, his efforts paid off. He found Daoist, who was dying, in a bush. When Bai Luo really saw it, he felt a very strong breath. He looked down and saw Daoist's face, which made his whole body tremble suddenly. Daoist, wake up. He didn't hesitate at all. He went forward and tried with his hand. He didn't even notice that he was shaking a little. Later, he was still scared when he thought about it. Bai Luo kept calling him, but he was responded by silence. He realized that Daoist was seriously injured this time, and his eyes became sharp. He observed the surroundings and found nothing suspicious. He used his skills to treat Daoist. Fortunately, he was still breathing. Bai Luo couldn't believe what would happen if he found him later. Fortunately, he was found in time and could be saved. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar released this novel. After half an hour of busy work, he watched Daoist slowly open his eyes. His tense expression was suddenly relaxed, and he slumped down in the seat next to him. Bai Luo was completely relieved. When he was thinking about what to say, he felt the movement from Daoist, and found that he was struggling to get up. You are seriously injured, don't move. He looked at Daoist, as if he didn't realize the situation. Seeing that his eyes were full of excitement, he guessed that he had something important to say. It was exactly the same as what Bai Luo thought. After hearing his voice, Daoist only took a temporary rest, and then continued to do what he had just done. He shook his head helplessly, knowing that if he didn't do this, he might be even more anxious, so he quickly helped him up. Duo 2 felt the strength coming from his body, and he forced himself to sit up. When he opened his mouth to say what he knew, he felt his throat was hoarse. Drink some water first, there's no rush for this matter. Bai Luo knew him well, and now seeing his actions, he could naturally feel his anxiety, but he just thought that, now that the person had been found, there was no rush. Thinking of this, he directly put the things next to him in his hand, and then a comforting voice sounded. Duo 2 listened to his voice and nodded subconsciously, and then he didn't rush to talk about this matter anymore. After all, he also felt the current physical condition. After a while, Bai Luo saw that his mood had improved, and he knew that he had eased a lot, so he took the initiative to ask about this matter. Chapter 646, Footprints. So how did you get injured like this? Bai Luo didn't say what he was going to do next, fearing that he would be under psychological pressure because of his current situation, so he decided to say it later. He looked at Duo 2's injury this time and knew that it was definitely not an ordinary injury. He had begun to doubt it since he saw him. Bai Luo decided to figure out the whole story first before talking about other things, so as to avoid other troubles and alert the enemy. After he finished speaking, he looked at Duo 2 and found that, after he put the things down, his expression was still a little excited, so he couldn't help but pat his back. Duo 2 heard his question and thought of what he had experienced before he fainted, which was something he had never thought of, so he couldn't wait to say it out. I was suddenly attacked by some unknown creatures. They were very fast. Before I could react, they were already. He spoke very quickly, fearing that he would not have time to explain everything, so he spoke non-stop, and then the surroundings fell into silence. Bai Luo frowned tightly when he heard what he said and thought of the power of these unknown creatures, which still felt a little strange. He thought that he had solved all this before, and now such a situation suddenly appeared. He didn't believe it, and was worried that other forces had appeared. Bai Luo didn't see this scene with his own eyes, so he didn't know the extent of it. When he treated Duo 2 just now, it was still a bit shocking. He didn't think this matter was as simple as he said, so he planned to let Duo 2 follow him first, on the one hand to protect his safety, and on the other hand to find the staff. Brother Bai, what should we do next? Duo 2 seemed to see his concerns, and knew that this matter happened suddenly, so he looked in his direction, and couldn't help asking. After he finished speaking, he waited for Bai Luo's response. When he was thinking about this matter, he heard his voice. Follow me first. Bai Luo directly said what he thought in his heart. Now it seems to be the best choice for them. Duo 2 is also very willing, so naturally he didn't say much. After the two of them discussed it, he took into account Duo 2's injury, so he simply rested for a while and set off again, after he got better. The next day, Duo 2 woke up early, because he was thinking about this matter. Feeling that his physical condition was almost recovered, he took the initiative to say, Brother Bai, I'm much better now. Let's set off quickly. Bai Luo listened to his voice, hesitated for a while, and nodded in agreement. After the two set off, they found strange footprints under a big tree. When they were squatting there observing, they heard the sound of hidden arrows around them. Realizing that something was wrong, they grabbed Duo 2 and hid. Swoosh, swoosh. Even though they quickly made the next move, the sound in their ears did not stop. Bai Luo and Duo 2 looked at each other with a very solemn expression. After half a cup of tea, Bai Luo and Duo 2 continued to move forward. The two were very careful along the way. Although the situations that appeared in front of them had been solved by them, they didn't know what would happen next. Thinking about the situation they were facing now, Bai Luo said to Duo 2 beside him as he walked, Brother Bai, I always feel that this matter has not been so simple from the beginning, so we should be careful later. Hearing this, Duo 2 nodded. But just after Bai Luo finished saying this, a figure suddenly appeared not far ahead. Seeing this, Duo 2 subconsciously wanted to chase ahead. But then he thought of Bai Luo's words and stopped. Bai Luo did not intend to chase after him, but stopped where he was, and observed what was happening ahead. Bai Luo was relieved to see Duo 2 take his words to heart. After all, the current situation was not good for them. If they really fell into someone else's trap, no one would come to save them. In such an unclear situation, we really dare not chase ahead. After all, we don't know what is waiting for us behind. The figure suddenly flashed in front of us just now, and it might just be to lure us to run over there. Although this is indeed very careful, it is possible to miss the key clues. But Bai Luo also felt that they could not take this risk. They can't make a single mistake now. After all, things have progressed to this point. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR is the first to publish this novel. Duo2 nodded to show his understanding, because the present situation is different from the past, and their current situation is very bad. Okay, Brother Bai, I understand. I will definitely keep this matter in mind. Then the two continued to walk forward. Now there are many mysteries in front of them, and they need to solve them one by one. But as he walked, Bai Luo had a very bad feeling, that is, the collision between his spiritual power and another kind of power. He suddenly felt a little uncomfortable, and the power radiated around him was also rebounded by some creatures. Bai Luo suddenly stopped, and then slowly closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, the expression on his face was very worried. He hesitated for a moment, and finally gave instructions to Duo2 beside him. I just felt another force suddenly appear nearby. If I guess correctly, it should be a mid-level magic beast. Although the mid-level magic beast is not as strong as the high-level magic beast, its strength is still quite good. When we continue to move forward, you should be careful, and don't be ambushed by them. After all, those magic beasts are best at ambushing and attacking, so they should be careful. After hearing Bai Luo's words, Duo2 also felt very strange. Since Bai Luo has said so, it proves that there are definitely mid-level magic beasts nearby. But Duo2 couldn't figure out why the mid-level magic beasts appeared in the manor. Duo2 frowned, and then said to Bai Luo beside him, "Why did those magic beasts suddenly appear in the manor? They shouldn't appear here. After all, this is not where they live. They don't have a long-term food supply here. Shouldn't they live in the Magic Beast Canyon? That's where they should stay." Bai Luo was just thinking about how to prevent the attacks of those middle-level magic beasts, and hadn't thought about this aspect yet. Now that Duo2 said this, Bai Luo also felt very strange. Chapter 647, The Old Man Appears. After all, a place like the manor is not suitable for the survival of monsters, and now these things have indeed appeared here. What is going on? Bai Luo couldn't figure it out at all. Because the manor is still a distance away from the monster canyon, there is no possibility that the monsters accidentally walked here. Just when Bai Luo was still imagining the possibility of things, suddenly a very old voice sounded in his mind again. Those monsters are indeed impossible to appear here, but there is still a possibility. It is possible that someone used a formation behind the scenes, and this formation triggered some unknown mechanism, so this kind of thing happened. Bai Luo didn't expect this person to suddenly answer him at this time. Although this is not the first time, this voice always appears when he is not expecting it. Now Bai Luo doesn't know where the source of the voice comes from, or he can't figure out why this voice appears in his mind. He also thought about guessing the other party's identity, but in the end he still had no clue. Bai Luo was a little helpless and then complained. "Don't think that you can convince others by suppressing your voice and pretending to be deep. I don't see any sincerity from you. How can I believe you? Do I really think what you said is true, just based on your few words? It's really ridiculous." Bai Luo just finished speaking, and then he saw an old man in his mind. After seeing this, Bai Luo couldn't help but be stunned. He didn't expect that this person would suddenly appear in his mind. After all, the person in front of him was very mysterious. He just talked about him, so when he suddenly appeared here, Bai Luo looked at him with a strange expression. Bai Luo walked forward a few steps, but stopped after a few steps. Because Bai Luo felt the powerful soul power of the old man from a long distance, this power was enough to give Bai Luo a very strong sense of oppression. After realizing this, Bai Luo looked at the old man in front of him with some disbelief. Because this power is so strong, Bai Luo does not think that his strength is average. And now, even though he was so far away, he could already feel that his soul was suppressed by the soul power of the old man in front of him. Bai Luo's face was full of expressions, while the old man on the other side looked very calm. He just looked at Bai Luo quietly not far away from him. In fact, people always look kind when they get older. Bai Luo looked over from this direction and felt that the old man seemed to be easy to talk to. He recalled the disrespectful words he had just said. He was anxious before and said that. After all, there are so many doubts in front of him now, but he has no clue at all. This would make anyone anxious. The old man in front did not reveal any identity information to him at all, and he could not just blindly believe him. But now the situation is different. Bai Luo can clearly feel the soul power of that person. If this person really wants to harm him, he can just do it directly. He is not his opponent at all. And why does he have to go around in circles to deal with him? Bai Luo also felt that his previous thoughts were too narrow-minded. It was possible that the senior just wanted to give him some advice, but he used the worst mind to guess him. Thinking of this, Bai Luo scratched his head a little embarrassedly and then took the initiative to apologize. I'm sorry, senior. I did say too much just now. I would like to thank you for your guidance. I was a little anxious later, so I said that. I hope you don't take it to heart. The old man just smiled, and he obviously didn't mean to argue with Bai Luo. Then he waved his hand. It's just a small matter. You don't have to take it to heart. I can understand your anxious mood now. What I said just now is indeed credible. You can think about it carefully. It is possible that you can get out of the current predicament if you think through this matter. After hearing the old man's words, Bai Luo was silent for a while. He didn't understand what the old man said now, but looking at the current situation, Bai Luo could only nod and agree quickly. Then the old man continued to speak. I know your current situation is not very good. If you don't mind, I can fight with you. After all, I also think that I have a good relationship with you. Although I'm old, I can still help you secretly. Bai Luo didn't expect that the old man would take the initiative to offer to help him, and then he looked at him with some surprise. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus book bar first published this novel. After all, Bai Luo was very clear about the strength of this old man, and the old man was just being modest. If they could really get the help of this old man, then their future things would be much simpler. And from what the old man said just now, it seems that he may know the things here very well. So Bai Luo nodded quickly, and then saluted the old man in front of him. Thank you very much for your help, senior. If the senior can help the two of us out of the predicament, then we brothers will naturally be grateful. The old man just smiled, and didn't say much. Then the old man slowly disappeared from his mind. When Bai Luo opened his eyes again, he found that the old man was not far in front of him. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo was also a little surprised. The old man nodded, then turned around, and said to Bai Luo, you two brothers, just stay behind me. I will check the situation in front. You must pay attention to every move around you, and don't let anyone sneak attack you. Bai Luo nodded, but he didn't know whether Duo on the side could see the existence of this senior, so Bai Luo didn't answer, because he was not sure whether this senior would mind exposing his identity. Others were willing to lend a hand to him. Bai Luo was naturally not an ungrateful person, and didn't want to cause trouble for the senior. After seeing Bai Luo nod, the old man turned around and led the way in front. Bai Luo didn't hesitate for a long time. After all, he now completely trusted this senior. He looked at Duo on the side and pointed forward with the help of others. Let's go in this direction. Yeah, okay. After hearing Bai Luo's words, Duo2's expression became a little complicated. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648, 3 people traveling together. He frowned and looked at Bai Luo beside him. After hesitating for a long time, he pointed to the vague figure in front of him and continued. Brother Bai, what's going on? Actually, I saw your movements just now. How come there is such a person in front of us all of a sudden? And this person looks like an older mortal. Is he here to help us? Bai Luo didn't expect that Duo could also see the figure of the senior. In fact, he looked at the senior in front of him with some disbelief. The old man obviously heard the conversation between Bai Luo and Duo, and then slowly stopped. He smiled and said, "Now both of you brothers can see my existence, but others can't. This time I will do my best to help you leave here and let you know my existence, but you can't tell this to other people. This also requires you to promise me." Bai Luo nodded. "Don't worry about this, senior. Since you have already said so, we will naturally not tell anyone about your affairs." The old man also believed in Bai Luo very much. After hearing Bai Luo's words, he nodded with satisfaction and didn't say anything more. In this way, Bai Luo and Duo followed the old man. As they walked, Bai Luo found a large number of footprints of monsters on the road. Bai Luo quickly squatted down to check these footprints of monsters and found that these footprints seemed to be just some low-level monsters. It's just that the number seems a bit too much, but it shouldn't be that troublesome to deal with others, so Bai Luo was not worried. He looked at Duo on the side, then pointed at the footprints on the ground and said, "From these footprints, the owners of these footprints should be just some low-level monsters, so there is no need to worry at all. We only have to worry about their number. I don't know how many low-level monsters are out here." The old man on the side was also watching from the side. He frowned after hearing Bai Luo's words. Looking at the disorderly footprints on the ground, the old man touched his beard subconsciously and then shook his head. "You better be careful. This matter doesn't seem to be as simple as it seems. This situation is not right, so we still have to be careful. If there is any accident later, everyone will react." Bai Luo was still feeling lucky that the situation they were facing was not too bad, but he didn't expect the senior to say so again. However, he still trusted the senior very much. Since the senior had said so, it must be possible that this matter was really not that simple. "Thank you for your advice, senior. We will definitely be more careful. I was indeed too careless just now. After all, what is happening now is really overwhelming, and there are many unexpected situations happening in front of me, so everything is possible. We will be more careful." Several people continued to move forward. Although they didn't know what would happen later, they all remained highly vigilant. But as they walked, Bai Luo found that the situation here was not as simple as he thought. Just when the footprints on his side had not been solved, he didn't expect that he would find that the weather here suddenly became very bad. At this time, the whole sky had turned dark, and the dark clouds covered the entire sky. Bai Luo couldn't help but look up at the sky, but at this moment, a lot of blue lightning suddenly appeared in the sky. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo subconsciously stopped and signaled Duo and the others not to go forward. "Don't go forward for now. I feel that there will be another situation later, so let's see what happens below first." Duo nodded. He naturally noticed the situation here. After all, this situation does look a bit scary, and then patted Bai Luo on the shoulder and said, "It seems to be very serious here. Let's find a place to hide. Otherwise, we don't know what will happen later." The sky seems to be collapsing. After hearing Duo's words, Bai Luo also nodded in agreement. "Okay, then let's find a place to hide." The three of them quickly chose a direction to walk, but they found Mondo and the others after a few steps. Mondo and the others were also looking for a place to hide, and the few people met in this situation. Then Bai Luo didn't think much, and finally ran to Mondo and the others. Mondo, who was there, also saw Bai Luo, and approached Bai Luo. After the few people met, Bai Luo didn't hesitate much. After all, the current situation looked too bad. And the situation over there was not very good either. Bai Luo also knew that Mondo and the others had some differences from himself in understanding this kind of supernatural event. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. He didn't intend to let Mondo and the others stay here, as they might encounter other dangers later. Bai Luo had no way to take care of Mondo and the others' safety now, so if Mondo and the others stayed here, no one would be able to help them if they encountered danger later. Then Bai Luo hurriedly said, "Mondo, you should go back to the manor first. The situation here seems to be a little bad." It's safer for you to go back there. We have our own plans here. Mondo was still a little hesitant. After all, the situation here looked really bad. If they went back now, it would be because Bai Luo and the others were missing some helpers. Bai Luo knew that Mondo and his friends were not disloyal people at all, and was worried that Mondo would think too much, so he continued. We have already thought about this matter. You can go back to the manor first. Leave the rest to me. You can also take care of the situation over there when you return to the manor. We don't know if there will be any other accidents. Since Bai Luo had already said this, Mondo could not say anything more. After watching Mondo and his friends walk in the direction of the manor, Bai Luo also breathed a sigh of relief. It just so happened that Duo2 was not afraid of ghosts and the like, so Bai Luo could call Duo2 to move with him, and he didn't have to worry that Duo2 would lose his composure because of fear. Then the three of them continued to move. In the process of moving forward, Bai Luo and his friends found some precious materials on the road. Looking at these spiritual stones on the road, Bai Luo picked up some and looked at them in his hand. I didn't expect that there would be so many precious materials here, but these things shouldn't be here. Duo2 also followed them all the way and saw that the situation here was also very strange, but he couldn't explain it. Chapter 649 Bai Luo's Discovery. At this time, the old man stood up. He also knew the situation along the way. After hesitating for a while, the old man spoke. According to the current situation, I think this place is likely to have been infiltrated by the enemy. They are likely to stay in a place where we can't see, observing our every move from behind, so they can have enough confidence in everything that happens. When he said this, the old man looked at the surrounding environment again. But he really couldn't find the trace of the person hiding behind. Although I know that person exists, I don't know who that person is. He is too careful, and I didn't find any trace of him around here. After listening to the old man's words, Bai Luo also nodded. If what the senior said is correct, then it is not difficult for him to find that person. He already had some ideas in his mind. If that person really exists, then I will naturally find a way to pull the person behind him out. It's just a matter of time. The old man didn't expect Bai Luo to say it so easily, because he was also very careful about the situation around him along the way, but he really didn't find any trace of people following them. Now Bai Luo looked particularly relaxed, so the old man couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and looked at Bai Luo with some curiosity. Bai Luo was about to say something, and then he seemed to feel something, and then looked in front of them. Since the situation was urgent, Bai Luo said directly, that person is not far in front of us. He is in front of us, and his figure just flashed past there. The old man and Duo2 also looked over there quickly, but found nothing. Duo2 felt very strange, but Bai Luo's expression did not seem to be joking with them. Brother Bai, how did you see that person's figure? Why can't we see anything? After seeing this situation, the old man slowly closed his eyes. He used his spiritual power to feel the situation around him, but he didn't feel anything. The old man also felt very confused. He didn't know how Bai Luo found out that someone was not far in front of them. After seeing the expressions on their faces, Bai Luo then explained to them. That person hid his aura very well, so ordinary methods naturally cannot find them. I released sword energy around and heard their screams before I could identify their location. After saying this, Bai Luo released some sword energy around. Sure enough, Duo2 and the old man also heard some screams. This matter went very smoothly, and the expression on Bai Luo's face was much more relaxed. After all, they can now be sure that there are indeed people following them around, and as long as those people come to their side and stop them, there is a way to catch them. After listening to Bai Luo's words and seeing Bai Luo's performance, the old man also looked at Bai Luo with appreciation. He didn't expect Bai Luo to have such an ability. After all, he didn't have such strength. Although his spiritual power is strong, he doesn't know this kind of synthetic attack method. The old man was also generous with his praise, and then nodded and said, "You are a young man who is really good at what you do. It seems that you have mastered 2 combined attack skills. Even I don't know this method. You have a promising future." After hearing the praise from the senior, Bai Luo scratched his head a little embarrassedly. He didn't expect that the skill he mastered was said to be quite powerful by the senior. He didn't think it was a big deal. But now Bai Luo didn't focus on this matter because they still had to deal with the people who followed them. Although Bai Luo can now feel the movements of those people through the sword energy, they can't be caught now. If someone keeps following them, Bai Luo and his friends have to be careful all the time. Bai Luo knew that there must be a lot of people, but fortunately, Bai Luo felt that their strength was not very strong through the sword energy. So this is still good news for Bai Luo. Bai Luo was afraid of worrying them too much, so he comforted them. Although there are indeed many people following us around, the strength of those people is not very good. Their strength is average. We don't need to worry at all. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR is the first to publish this novel. After hearing what Bai Luo said, Duota couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. That's great. It won't be very difficult to deal with them. Just when the expressions on the two people's faces eased a little, the old man next to them suddenly had a problem. The old man's expression was not good, and he seemed to be struggling. Bai Luo saw that his expression was not right, and then he hurried over to hold the old man's shoulders. "Senior, what's wrong with you? Did something happen?" The old man shook his head uncomfortably, and then stretched out his hands in front of him to look at them. "I don't know why, but the soul power in my body suddenly weakened a lot. This happened too suddenly. I can't even maintain this form now. I feel like my body is about to disappear." As soon as the old man finished speaking, he suddenly disappeared in front of them. Bai Luo didn't expect this to happen so suddenly. The old man appeared in front of them just now, but now he suddenly disappeared. Duo 2, who was standing by, was also at a loss after seeing this situation. Recalling the very uncomfortable expression on the old man's face just now, Duo 2 was also worried that he would be in danger. "Brother Bai, what's going on? Why did the senior just now disappear? Could it be that he encountered some danger? Should we go find him quickly?" Bai Luo frowned. It would be great if he could find him now. But the senior disappeared very suddenly and did not leave any clues. Even if Bai Luo and his friends wanted to find him, they had no clue. Then Bai Luo shook his head. "We don't know where to find him now. The most urgent task now is to deal with the enemies around us first. This is the most important thing. The senior may just have some problems on his side. If his soul power is restored by then, he may continue to appear on our side." Duo 2 felt that what Bai Luo said was indeed correct. What he thought just now was too naive. Then Duo 2 nodded and looked at the situation around him again. Although Bai Luo had released some sword energy to test the people around him, those people only let out some screams. Chapter 650, A Wonderful Discovery. They still hid in the dark and did not come out. After seeing this situation, Duo 2 said to Bai Luo, who was standing beside him, "Brother Bai, although we now know the existence of those people around us, how can we force them out? After all, if they don't come out, we can't do anything to them." Bai Luo frowned and looked at the situation around him. He had already greeted them just now, but those people still had no intention of leaving. Bai Luo could clearly feel that those people were still waiting for him around. Since these people were unwilling to leave, Bai Luo did not intend to be polite to them. He could find their existence and location, so he could naturally deal with them. So Bai Luo started to fight directly. He used his own spiritual power to release sword energy around him. This time, the sword energy was sharp and sharp, without any intention of leaving any room. At the same time, Bai Luo released the power of thunder, and these two forces rushed directly to the surroundings. Duo 2 couldn't help holding his breath after seeing this situation. He hadn't seen Bai Luo use real kung fu for a long time. After seeing the ability Bai Luo showed, Duo 2 still admired Bai Luo very much. Bai Luo wanted to let it go, but then he thought of the poisonous insects he brought with him. Let's do a good thing to the end. Bai Luo hesitated for a moment, and then released the poisonous insects he brought to the surroundings. At that moment, many figures suddenly flashed around. There were continuous screams, and those people were scared and fled everywhere, not caring about hiding their tracks. After seeing this situation, Bai Luo directly rushed forward with his weapons to deal with those who had been exposed. Duo 2 was not to be outdone. After all, this was a good opportunity. Since those people had already run out, it would be much easier for him to deal with them. The two fought side by side, and it was not difficult for them to deal with these people. Moreover, Bai Luo's series of actions just now also made them confused, so Bai Luo and his team had always had the upper hand. But during this fight, Bai Luo discovered a very strange force. He actually found a strong breath of treasure around him. After Bai Luo confirmed it again and again, he found that his feeling was not wrong. After all, this situation directly means that there is a high possibility of precious treasure around. This treasure is also spiritual. In order to be discovered as soon as possible, it will also release a force to the surroundings. However, it is still difficult to encounter such a high-level treasure. Bai Luo felt a little unbelievable at first, but in the end it was true. Since the people in front of him have been dealt with, Bai Luo does not intend to continue wasting time here with them. Although these people are not very strong, there are still a lot of them. Bai Luo only felt that they were like a group of dogskin plasters when fighting with these people. Then Bai Luo looked at Duo2 on the side. Let's not worry about the situation here. Since these people are not our opponents, let's leave quickly. In fact, Duo2 wanted to get rid of these people before leaving. After all, they have always had the upper hand now, and these people are not their opponents at all. Duo2 doesn't want to let them go so easily and keep following them behind the scenes to do tricks. Now that they can finally deal with these people, Duo2 wants to teach them a lesson. So Duo2's expression was a little puzzled. He was about to ask Bai Luo why, but Bai Luo guessed his thoughts and said to him directly, I have my own considerations. There is no need to waste time with them here. We have more important things to do. So let's leave here quickly. I have something very important to solve. Since Bai Luo had already said so, Duo2 didn't say anything more. After all, he still believed in Bai Luo very much. Bai Luo had already said that there was something very important to solve, which proved that the matter was indeed much more important than this. Then the two of them left the battlefield here directly. Those people were not their opponents at all, so they didn't dare to follow. After seeing Bai Luo and the others leave, chasing after them would only be asking for a fight. Bai Luo slowly stabilized his body and then looked at the surrounding situation again. He had chosen the direction to leave just now, and he had his own intention to run here with Duo2. He now felt the breath of the special treasure, and he had also felt it in this direction just now. Read the error-free version at 69 book bar. 6 equals 9 plus BOOK_BAR released this novel for the first time. Now that he was running in this direction, Bai Luo could also feel that the breath was getting stronger and stronger, so that also proved that the treasure was very likely not far away. After realizing this, Bai Luo's expression was also very excited. But now Bai Luo couldn't be sure of the exact location of the treasure, so they could only set out to find it. During the search, Bai Luo also explained to Duo2 why he did that just now. Just now, during the fight, I found a very strong breath of a special treasure, which also proved that the treasure was very likely to be around here. Now that they have been thrown away, the breath is getting stronger and stronger. It should be around here. Let's quickly look for it around here. Duo2 was also very excited after hearing Bai Luo's words. After all, Brother Bai has attached so much importance to this treasure, which means that this treasure is indeed very rare. Then Duo2 nodded quickly and continued to say, well, in that case, let's hurry up and look for the treasure. Don't let others get there first. The two didn't waste any more time and immediately searched for the treasure around here together. As expected, as Bai Luo expected, they found the treasure not far away without much effort. Bai Luo saw the light from this side from a long distance and slowly approached this side. It didn't take long for him to see the shape of the treasure. This turned out to be the artifact, Blue Thunder Diamond Shield. Bai Luo knew this artifact. After all, he had seen its name many times in the electronic book. Bai Luo was very surprised. When he saw this artifact, Bai Luo felt a magical power. This power seemed to be controlling his actions, and Bai Luo also felt that the artifact in front of him seemed to be calling him. Bai Luo stretched out his hand to the artifact almost uncontrollably. If it were normal, Bai Luo would never dare to act rashly without any preparation. But now this force seems to be pushing Bai Luo to act. Duo 2, who was standing aside, was also a little worried after seeing this situation. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.